You're eating it even though it's poisonous? You're eating it even though it's poisonous? Was he not afraid of death? Or had he lived for too long? Moreover, the moment Long Fei grabbed the poisonous insect, its hand had already begun to rot, and it was still stuffing itself into its mouth. Even if he wasn't crazy, he was still a retard. Lord Ian felt Long Fei's palm rotting and immediately laughed. Ha ha, just wait for your entire body to fester and die. No one can resist the blood spirit poison. We will plant poisonous insect first, absorb its blood essence, and nurture it for a few years before it is formed. Release your blood aura again, and let it spread through the air, awakening the poisonous insect. Every single Xianling Arhats is a heartless realm, and this kind of realm is the best for the cultivation of poisonous insect. Absolute Heart is the best container for poisonous insect. The Lord Ian slowly spoke. The expressions of the pavilion masters all changed. He used to think that poison wasn't anything special, but now they felt that the Lord Ian was too dangerous, and they didn't know if he had planted any poisonous insects in his body. In the future, they would have to be extremely careful when they came into contact with him. The best place to cultivate poison was in the human body, especially this kind of poisonous insect. Isn't this move too sinister? Grand Court, the lives of 4 Xianling Arhats S. Some of the pavilion masters had displeased expressions. Grand Court interrupted. As long as we can obtain the super treasure on him, no matter how many people we sacrifice, it's fine. Some people immediately shut their mouths. Lord Ian was even more brazen than before. As he watched Long Fei swallow the poisonous insect, the corner of his mouth also started to rot. Prepare to accept death. Lame duck before me, you can only wait to die. Seeing that Long Fei's cheeks had started to rot, many of the pavilion masters heaved a sigh of relief. There was no longer any possibility for Long Fei to live anymore. No matter how arrogant he is, as long as you don't touch your body, there's nothing you can do. Am I going to die soon? Ha ha, let's see how arrogant he can be. Many people mocked. Grand Court said in disdain, hand over the super treasure, and I will make him spare your life. Boy, you only have half a minute. After half a minute, even if there will be an antidote, it will be useless. Lord Ian faked, taking out a small bottle, and said, hand over the super treasure, and I will let you live. Xianhu looked at Long Fei, speechless. Xianyu directly said, Big brother Long Fei, give them the thing, give it to them, or else you'll die. As the 4 poisonous insect ate it up, Long Fei's mouth all the way down to his throat, as if he was on fire, began to gradually rot and rot wherever he went. The power of these 4 poisonous insects was extremely strong. However, Long Fei did not show any fear, but instead laughed coldly and said, half a minute worth of life? Lord Ian said, there are only 20 seconds left. Quickly hand it over. Long Fei said, 20 seconds? Is that enough? Enough what? Lord Ian was startled. He did not know who Long Fei was talking to. Once a small sound rang out from within his body. He said, enough. They knew it was the poisonous insect, but they still went to eat it? Was Long Fei that stupid? Of course not. Just as the 4 poisonous insect appeared, Nez's voice suddenly sounded. Good stuff, I want to eat, I want to eat. Daddy wants to eat, give it to me to eat. Poisonous insect is coming out. Nez's mind was muddled. Long Fei said, can this thing be eaten? Neza said, sure, but it's a big supplement for me right now. Hurry up and eat it, I want to eat it. Long Fei didn't have any hesitation as he immediately grabbed the 4 poisonous insect and put them into his mouth. His mouth, throat, all the while his internal organs were rapidly rotting. Just like Lord Ian had said, his body would completely rot in less than 20 seconds. When the time came, no one would be able to save him. However, if Neza wanted to eat something, he could only absorb it using Long Fei's body felt very uncomfortable after being consumed by 4 poisonous insects. South Grand Court stared at Long Fei with hidden eyes and said solemnly, there are still 10 seconds. Hand that thing over. Hand it over. Lord Ian also said solemnly, brat, if you don't want to rot to death, hand it over to me. Long Fei's mouth still carried a faint smile and did not say a word. He completely ignored the threat of the Grand Court. It was as if he hadn't heard her. 5 seconds. There are only 5 seconds left, Lord Een said heavily again. At this moment, Long Fei's body started to rot all over, as if there was a ball of fire burning within his body. But Long Fei still had a smile on his face. He was just this calm. 3 seconds. You still have a chance. 2 seconds. Lame duck. You're dead meat. Lord Een spoke in a deep voice. Xian Yu shouted, Big brother Long Fei. By the time he finished, the rot had reached his bone marrow. Just like the Xianling arhits on the ground, all that was left was a corpse, and even the bones were black. But Long Fei did not fall. His cultivation was deep, and he had been holding out for a long time. Lord Een was startled. What happened? Not only did Long Fei not fall, his skin and flesh were crazily healing and recovering their luster. Hui Wei, you've recovered. His arms, the flesh of his body. Is it the antidote? There is no antidote for this type of blood spirit poison. Even if there is an antidote that has already reached the bone marrow, there is no antidote. What's going on? Lord Een felt the change in Long Fei's body. With a face full of fear, his voice trembled as he said, No, impossible, absolutely impossible. No one can destroy the blood spirit poison. There is no antidote for this poison at all. Even the body of a mystical cultivator would not be able to resist this kind of lethal poison. Kid, what kind of monster are you? The process took about 30 seconds. However, from detoxifying to recovering, Long Fei only took 10 seconds. Gulp. So comfortable. Daddy, I recovered. Who was the one who called Daddy just now? I want to avenge you. Neza was alive and kicking. He was not tired at all, but he was full of energy. You can eat poisonous insect? Long Fei asked in confusion. Neza said, No, these 4 poisonous insects were bred using the blood essence of 4 people, so they are great supplements for me. So comfortable. Once again, he shouted in excitement. Long Fei was depressed. At this moment, Lord Een was extremely unhappy, and he was furious as he said in a heavy voice, I don't believe it. Boom! He flew into a rage. Suddenly, a crack appeared on his forehead. A bug king burst out. His body was also a container, nurturing the strongest poisonous insect. Whoosh! His body charged forward, directly rushing in front of Long Fei. Trash, go and die. How preposterous! Neza angrily said, You call me Daddy Trash? Die! As soon as he finished. Once Neza's power surged, Long Fei leaped up before the Lord Een could even get close to him, and with a punch, he directly struck the Insect King's body. Boom! The Insect King was blasted into its body. The Lord Een trembled crazily. Long Fei lifted him up, and the many black holes began to quickly circulate. He was crazily devouring the profound chi in the Lord Een. He was crazily devouring the profound chi in the Lord Een. Bam! Bam! There were a few more sparks among the many black holes. Lord Een weakly laid on the ground as he looked at Long Fei with lifeless eyes. He shook his head and said, No F *** king shit. Boom! With a stomp on Lord Yin's head, his gaze swept across. Next! Incomparable savagery. The elders and pavilion masters of the Xian pavilion shrank back, not daring to step forward. Long Fei had never made a move before. He had just made a sudden move, and with a single punch, he killed the strongest insect king in Lord Een. His passive defense was incomparably powerful. Taking the initiative to attack was also incomparably powerful. This kind of person was invincible. How could he be an opponent? Grand Court became even more excited. Super treasure. Too amazing, huh? He did not show any fear. Instead, he became even more excited. The more powerful Long Fei's performance was, the more excited he became. For a Nether Passage Realm Martial Practitioner to obtain a super treasure and become so powerful, if he were to obtain it, how strong would he become? Holy Realm? The most powerhouse in this world? Haha, Grand Court said in a deep voice. Brat, your power is absorbed through contact. As long as it does not come in contact with you, it will not cause any harm. Of course, All sorts of energy attacks that land on your body will be absorbed by you. Your body can be said to have surpassed the existence of the profound body. I have to say, you're almost invincible now. You can't get hurt. You can't die. Grand Court said lightly. Long Fei said, you've researched it thoroughly. But you're wrong about one thing. I am not invincible. I am invincible. Grand Court laughed sinisterly and said, that may not be so. Long Fei said, not necessarily. Today, I will say this. None of you 9 Grand Courts will be able to escape. All of you will die. This was something that he had promised elderly Towdy. Then again, whoever touched Long Fei's woman would die. Grand Court's eyes turned sinister. The expressions of the other 6 pavilion masters also changed. Long Fei's gaze swept across them as he repeated himself once more, all of you must die. It was incomparably savage, incomparable arrogance. The strongest power in the world was also the 9 people who stood at the pinnacle of the world. They all had to die. How crazy was this? Too arrogant. Grand Court coldly snorted and said, do you think I have no way to suppress you? I suggest that you better hand over the item. I can spare your life, or I can spare theirs. If you take one more step, without waiting for Grand Court to finish. Long Fei immediately took a step forward and said, I'm going to take another step. Don't talk nonsense with me. Come at me. In other words, all of you attack together. He was so arrogant. A dignified Xian pavilion was stomped into this state by Long Fei. Each and every one of them had a ball of anger burning in their hearts. Long Fei had always been forcing them, and his arrogance had caused all of their auras to become abnormally hot. Grand Court, since he said so, let's attack together. Let's let this brat know how high the sky is and how thick the earth is. That's right. Kill him. They couldn't bear to watch any longer. All of them were in a berserk state. But the Grand Court didn't give the order, but faintly smiled and said, I gave you a chance now. You have no chance. Its 2 fingers were ferocious. He quickly formed a seal. A series of phantoms appeared between his fingers. Not long later, an explosion sounded out above a illusory palace. Boom! The plaza suddenly caved in as sand and dust flew everywhere. It's not that there's something underground. It was the sky. An extremely strong object pressed down from the sky above the Great Xian Peak. The ground began to cave in before they even touched it. Long Fei's body also sank. Even the body of Towdy were firmly stuck on the ground at this time, making it extremely difficult for them to move. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Explosions continuously rang out in the sky. The surrounding people couldn't withstand the powerful energy and were directly forced to retreat. Buzz! With the sound of a bell, a powerful shock wave burst out in the sky. At the same time, rumble! A powerful ripple covered the sky, and thick clouds started to churn nonstop. A colossal monster appeared in the sky. Super battleship? UFO. Holy **T. Long Fei looked at the gigantic black object in shock. It was a huge, disc-shaped object with various carvings and flaming patterns on it. It looked just like an alien battleship. But when Long Fei saw the patterns clearly on the metal cake, his eyes suddenly darkened. No! He immediately thought about the iron ball binding elderly Towdy's body. It was also this kind of material. Buzz! The sky exploded once again, and like a giant bell ringing, the sound spread for 1,000 kilometers. Boom! A stream of power poured down and enveloped Long Fei like a beam of light. Long Fei's body was immediately bound and unable to move. Grand Court laughed proudly. You have super treasure, and Xian Pavilion also has one. However, Xian Pavilion super treasure are too big and aren't suitable for cultivation. They can only be used for defense. That year, the ancestor of the Xian Pavilion used this to subdue Uiter space demons. Your survival from Broken Sky Cliff must be related to that demon, right? The Grand Court guessed. A perfectly fine Broken Sky Peak would crack just like that. It had to be related to that demon. Adding Long Fei's fleshly body and that strong devouring power, there definitely had to be a connection. Seeing Long Fei not saying a word, the Grand Court continued, to be able to suppress that outer space demons over 3,000 years ago, I can also suppress you today. You dog. I'll give you one last chance. Hand over the item, or else you will be suppressed like that outer space demons in the metal ball. Rumble. The huge metal cake moved, and another force came crashing down. Long Fei's body was tightly locked. He stared at the flame patterns on the metal pancake and started rotating his eyes. It did not look like a super treasure, but a very special type of formation. From the looks of it, it was more like an alien battleship. Neza, can you leave the body? Long Fei couldn't move, so he could only rely on Neza. Neza said, this kind of power can't bind me, but Daddy, when my power enters your body, it can't break the shackles either. Long Fei said, as long as you can leave the body, you can go to the top of this big metal pancake, and there must be an entrance. After you go in, don't worry about it so much. Long Fei came from Earth. The movie had seen all sorts of alien battleships that humans could imagine. If it was really an alien battleship, then as long as it damaged the system, it would lose all of its power. Understood, Neza replied. Father, I'm not here. You have to be careful. Long Fei replied. I will. To be able to crush even the ancestors of a vicious beast like the Tao Tai, what exactly is this battleship? Can you blow it up? The universe exists in all sorts of powerful planes. The universe exists in all sorts of powerful planes. Some planes did not have a martial artist or even a cultivator. However, they could develop weapons that could deal with all kinds of enemies and crush cultivators. Quite a few planes were in the higher planes. An extremely strong scientific ability could crush all cultivation powerhouse. What kind of technology was this super battleship like discus on top of Long Fei's head? Or could it really be a kind of super treasure? Long Fei didn't know. He only cared about one question. Could this thing explode? He doesn't know yet, but you'll know soon enough. Neza had already flown up. To be able to suppress the body of Taudi, but not Neza, did that mean that the Lotus Jade Pendant's level exceeded the body of Taudi's? Or was it his own blood essence? Boom! Brat, you are immobile now. If you keep moving, your body will be shackled by an extremely strong metal. The Eternal Seal is inside. If you hand over the super treasure now, you won't be able to react in time. Otherwise, you'll become that monster. Grand Court spoke in a deep voice. He could feel that Long Fei was immobilized on the spot. Moreover, since there was no way to obtain the beam of light, the pavilion masters secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Ha ha! You have this time as well. Do you really think you're amazing? Brat, continue being so arrogant. Insolent. How is he not crazy? He violently vented. Long Fei's mouth hooked up and said, You want the super treasure? Come and get it yourself, you bunch of blind bastards. The word blind had a huge impact on them. Grand Court clenched both his fists and said with a heavy voice, You're still so arrogant after being suppressed. Let's see how long you can continue being so arrogant for. Boom! His fists moved. Grand Court's body exploded with sounds of explosion. Next, two golden fist shadows appeared out of nowhere. Grand Court extended his fist. Boom! The golden fist directly struck Long Fei's abdomen. Puff. A burn mark appeared on his abdomen, and a fist imprint appeared like a brand on it. The body of Taudi was suppressed, causing Long Fei to be unable to withstand this fist at all as he spat out a mouthful of blood. This was also because his cultivation had reached the realm of the mysterious king. Otherwise, this fist would have directly taken his life. Boom! Yet another fist descended. His chest sunk, his bones broke, and an explosive sound erupted. Long Fei spat out another mouthful of blood. Grand Court's eyes became fierce and said, You're crazy. Continue being crazy. You think you're that great? Do you think that you can go against the rules just because you can kill the pavilion master? This is the Xian Pavilion. It's my territory. You don't have the right to be arrogant in my territory. His voice was filled with rage. The pressure was overwhelming. Many of the pavilion masters shuddered inwardly as fear rose in their hearts towards the Grand Court. The reason Grand Court was not only because of his strong cultivation, but also because of his methods. Blood trickled down the corner of Long Fei's mouth as he said gloomily, "So what about your territory? Kill me now if you have the ability. If you kill me, you won't be able to obtain that thing in your entire life." Ha ha! Long Fei laughed out wildly. However, he was incomparably worried in his heart. The 2 punches just now had caused his health point to be reduced to 1/3. He couldn't help but urge in his heart, "Neza, how is it?" "I just came in," said Neza. "It's very strange here. It's full of things I've never seen before. It's like a huge maze." "Daddy, I didn't see the lines you were talking about." Neza was also very anxious. Long Fei said, "I don't have time now. Don't worry about that. Just destroy the interior first. One more punch from Grand Court and he would be dead. As long as the binding force on his body was removed, the power of the Grand Court would not be able to do anything to Long Fei. The most important part was the restriction. Neza immediately said, "Your son understands." Immediately, Neza began to wildly destroy it. Grand Court took a step forward and landed heavily in front of Long Fei. He said in a gloomy voice, "Kid, if you die, the super treasure will disappear. Don't you want to think about this plane? Also, as long as you hand it over, I'll let you live for sure. I'll give those 2 women to you, even if you like them." Hand it over. Almost through gritted teeth. You could see it. The Grand Court was about to lose his patience. His eyes had gone blind. The Xianling Arhats had died out. The 2 pavilion masters had died, and the disciples of the Heaven Martial Pavilion had all died out. In this era where the strong preyed on the weak, the news of the Xian Pavilion being heavily injured had been spread out. At that time, there would be no Xian Pavilion left in this world. As long as they got their hands on the super treasure, the Xian Pavilion would not be afraid of any forces. Long Fei looked at Grand Court and laughed faintly. "You think I'm a 3-year-old child? Do you think that I will believe what you say?" The Grand Court asked, "What do I have to do to make you believe me?" Long Fei said, "Very simple. Let the 2 of them go first." The corners of Grand Court's eyes sank. "Do you think I don't know what you're thinking?" Boom! His figure flashed and instantly appeared in front of Xianyu. He grabbed her long hair, and her figure flashed back and forth as he fiercely grabbed onto the profound jade and said, "I'll give you one last chance. If I don't take it out now, she'll die." The flames on Grand Court's body burned. Veins popped out on his forehead. Xianyu replied heavily. The profound jade was in pain, but she endured it and looked towards Long Fei. "Big brother Long Fei, don't worry about me. I don't want to live anyway." Bam! With a tug, the profound jade fell heavily onto the ground, staring at Long Fei. He said, "Hand it over." Xianyu's body bounced up from the ground as she spat out a mouthful of blood. His face turned pale. Long Fei's gaze darkened, his fists clenched tightly. The beam of light he was suppressing started to waver. Grand Court felt the anger from Long Fei's body and said, "Hand over the thing, and you can all live. Last chance." While speaking, a long sword appeared in Grand Court's hands. The long sword was pointing at the black jade beneath his feet. His eyes was filled with killing intent. If Long Fei still did not hand over the thing, he would really kill him. Long Fei's heart tensed up and said, "Neza." Neza crazily attacked. They wantonly destroyed. After hearing Long Fei's shouts, he destroyed it even more quickly. Rumble, rumble, rumble. With a loud bang, the large metal cake above his head continued to emit explosive sounds. The beam of light swayed, and its power was reduced. The black hole in Long Fei's body started to slowly spin again. A brown bee scale appeared all over Long Fei's body, and his eyes were like the cruel eyes of a Taodai. Boom! Boom! With a roar, scales of a Taotai appeared on Long Fei's face one after another. The fist covered the beast's scales. He clenched his fist. Long Fei's tensed-up body suddenly shot out. A fist flew towards Grand Court's face. Walala! The void shattered. A black hole appeared under his fist, and Grand Court reacted quickly. His sword moved and directly shot towards Long Fei's fist, and with a light tap on his body, he quickly retreated. Boom! The long sword shattered into powder. Long Fei's eyes turned sinister. Move! A black mist appeared behind him, and he charged forward, punching out with his fist. Grand Court did not dare to touch Long Fei's fist, and his body retreated again. Boom! Long Fei chased again. Boom! The two's figures kept changing, so it was impossible to see them clearly. When the Grand Court retreated, Long Fei gave chase. Long Fei's cultivation was only at the first stage of the profound king stage, but Grand Court cultivation was actually at the peak realm. Even with the body of Taoti's strength and speed, one's realm was always everything. No matter how strong the support was, it wasn't as important as the level. This was also the reason why Long Fei was so close to catching up to the Grand Court. Humph! You think you can kill me? You can't even catch up to me. What are you going to use to kill me? As long as they didn't come into contact with Long Fei's body, as long as they didn't fight head-on with him, he would be in an invincible position. Moreover, if this continued, Long Fei would definitely be exhausted to death. Even if he didn't die from exhaustion, his profound strength would be completely used up, and he would still be the one to win. But suddenly, Long Fei stopped. The two of them stood in midair. The Grand Court disdainfully said, "Lame duck, why aren't you chasing after me?" Long Fei said, "You're right. I can't catch up to you." Grand Court laughed. "You have self-awareness now?" Long Fei said, "The reason why I can't catch up to you is because your realm is higher than mine." Grand Court said, "You sure are enlightened." Long Fei said, "So, I'll go and level up first." Upgrade? What the heck is this? Grand Court did not understand the meaning of level up, but suddenly he saw that Long Fei's gaze was fixated on a Pavilion Master. His expression darkened, and immediately shouted out, "Pavilion Master Wong, disperse." However, too late. Boom! Long Fei dove down, falling like a meteor. His speed could not catch up to the Grand Court at the peak of the profound king realm, but the speed of the other Pavilion Masters was inferior to his. Boom! With an explosive sound, Long Fei grabbed Pavilion Master Wong's arms with both of his hands. Pavilion Master Wong's eyes darkened as he stared at Long Fei with fear in his eyes. He did not even have time to react. And at this moment, the small whirlpool within Long Fei's pubes started to spin, frantically absorbing the energy. In just a few seconds, Pavilion Master Wong weakly kneeled in front of Long Fei. As Long Fei smashed his palm down, "Ding! Congratulations to the player Long Fei for killing Pavilion Master Wong. Capture! Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for leveling up. Currently, you are at the third stage of the profound king stage." Killing and leveling up, as long as he could hunt someone higher than him, he would immediately be able to obtain the other party's cultivation. This was the most abnormal game system. Third level of the profound king stage. Long Fei slightly raised his eyes. A smile hung on his lips like a god of death. Still not enough. Boom! His body moved, once again turning into a ball of black mist, and landed in front of another Pavilion Master. He smiled sinisterly and said, "Die. Rumble. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for leveling up, currently at the fourth stage of the profound king stage." Continue. He was just like a crazy madman. Long Fei did not stop at all. High level? If I wait a few minutes, your level will become mine. From the original first stage of the profound king stage, in just 2 short minutes, Long Fei's cultivation had already reached the 6th stage of the profound king stage. The difference in power had been directly narrowed from the 8th rank to the 3rd rank. This speed, it was no longer fast. It was like flying. Long Fei had never experienced this kind of leveling speed before. It was extremely satisfying. This killing and upgrading system is simply tailor-made for me. I have to say, the system's creator is a bit of a brainer. Haha! Long Fei was excited. He had never liked the system as much as he liked it now. In the past, things like striking system, primordial system, and more or less systems all dropped very powerful items, but it's not even comparable to this system. In the past, leveling up had required a huge accumulation of experience points, and leveling up required more than 1 billion experience, or even several billion experience. It was simply too difficult. How could he be unhappy? From the beginning, Long Fei killed people beyond his cultivation level, but at most he only dropped some things. Now, it didn't matter if he didn't drop anything. What he wanted was a level. He could refine and create holy artifact himself. Divine pills were the same. As long as he didn't have the trouble of leveling, none of this was a big problem. Moreover, as long as he killed the Emperor Xian, he would be able to obtain the cultivation of the latter, and the entire god tribe would be trampled under his feet. In the past, he had to deal with the entire god tribe. Right now, he only needed to deal with Emperor Xian and take care of him. That would be equivalent to taking care of the entire god tribe. Boom! The last old pavilion master fell. Long Fei leveled up once again. 7th level of the profound king stage. There was only a difference of 2 levels between his and the Grand Court's rank. Level 2 was no longer a problem for Long Fei, who had a body of Taudi. Moreover, not only his level increase, Long Fei's pubes had also started to turn into a blazing flame. It was just like the anger value filled up during a game. It had reached a point where it could be released. Long Fei's footsteps moved. He floated in midair, stared at the Grand Court, and said solemnly, "You're the only one left." Grand Court's body trembled slightly. This is the super treasure you obtained. In such a short period of time, he had directly broken through to the 7th stage of the profound king stage. This was even more mythical than the myth. Long Fei smirked and said, "That's right, do you want it?" Grand Court's eyes turned sinister as his body slightly shrank. And then, his body suddenly shot backward. Right now, his cultivation had no advantages. If he did not run, he would only be killed by Long Fei. Furthermore, the big discus was out of control. He could no longer control it. There was only one choice. Flee. He's still running. Long Fei's eyes turned cold, and he sneered. "Do you think you can escape now?" Boom! The black mist flashed. Long Fei instantly appeared in front of Grand Court and laughed sinisterly. "I just said that I will level up first. Now that I have leveled up, will you still be able to escape?" As soon as he finished, Long Fei punched towards the Grand Court. Grand Court's eyes darkened, his arms crossed in front of his chest. The power of a peak profound king exploded out crazily. Buzz. Wong. Wong. His fist landed, and the force behind it exploded like a firework. Grand Court was heavily pushed back, but he was not injured. When he felt the power of Long Fei's fist, his mind also shivered. There's no power to devour. Long Fei also felt that it was strange. The body of Taudi S were constantly devouring. As long as he came into contact with it, he could devour it. But it was one thing if the punch just now did not injure Grand Court. But why did the Tao Ye's devouring power not come out? Broken? Long Fei was puzzled. His understanding of body of Taudi S was not comprehensive enough. Right now, he only knew that he could constantly devour them, never stopping. But now he didn't want to swallow it. Could it be that the body of Taudi's devouring can only be triggered passively? You can't trigger it on your own accord? Long Fei thought to himself, "That's not right. When I killed those pavilion masters earlier, I also took the initiative to attack. Why is that?" Grand Court didn't know the reason either. But the moment he was struck by Long Fei's fist, he thought that he would be engulfed by Long Fei, the same as the other pavilion masters. But no, Grand Court shouted in excitement. Did it fail? At this moment, Grand Court hardened his heart. If it really fails, then this is an opportunity. Wealth comes from danger. Escape couldn't solve the problem. If he could seize this tiny chance, then everything would be his. Boom! Grand Court shook his fists. Buzz, buzz. A golden palm print appeared. Grand Court said sinisterly, "Golden fist." Ah! The power of the peak, profound king level erupted crazily, and the fist imprints became larger and larger, locking onto Long Fei. Both of his fists struck forward, this time not attacking from afar, but attacking. The power of ranged attacks was not strong enough. Long Fei did not understand why the body of Taudi did not devour him, nor did he have the time to figure this out. Seeing the Grand Court rushing towards him, he moved his fists and clashed with him. His fist showed brown bee scales. Rumble, rumble, rumble. 4 fists collided, causing the sky to groan in pain. Countless cracks appeared in the air. Long Fei burst out. Grand Court was the same. This move was done in a tie. No one could benefit from it. But towards the Grand Court, he had already gained the upper hand, because Long Fei's devouring power was no longer here. This punch was just a test. He didn't use his full strength. Your devouring power is already gone, right? Huh? Grand Court laughed excitedly and said, "Without devouring this place, you're nothing in front of me. You're just a piece of trash. You scolded my father again. You're courting death." Neza said heavily. Just as he was about to rush up, Long Fei shouted, "Leave this guy to me." Neza angrily stood to the side. Long Fei said, "Even if I don't use any power, I can still kill you." Buzz! His body sank, and his pupils became the pupils of a Taotai. The incomparably thick beast scales appeared on his body, and the aura of the Tao Ye's power spread out. Grand Court sneered and said, "Even if your physical body is strong enough to surpass the profound body, your strength, it's still not enough." His voice sank. Grand Court's body exploded outwards. It was like a golden lightning bolt. His entire body had turned into a golden body. The same, his physical body was also at the peak of the profound body, a golden body. His defense was extremely strong. The most important point was that his power was exceptionally thick and was able to completely fuse the power of his physical body into his own cultivation realm. For more punches intersected. Buzz! Golden light shot in all directions. Long Fei's body sank slightly, and he retreated a few hundred meters. Grand Court had only retreated a dozen steps. He had the upper hand now. Ha! Originally, not all super treasure were as powerful as you think. They all have their weakness. After devouring so many people, have you now revealed your weakness? Ha ha! Kid, it's my turn to take your life. The expression in the Grand Court's eyes turned sinister, not giving Long Fei a chance to catch his breath. His footsteps became like thunder, quickly rushing over. The golden-colored fist continued to bombard Long Fei crazily. Was to not give Long Fei any chance. Long Fei's heart was locked tightly as he unceasingly struck back, while constantly pondering. Why did the swallowing power of the Taotai suddenly disappear? No reason. The body of Taoti's strongest power was devouring. The rest weren't very strong. Facing the Grand Court's powerful attacks, Long Fei could only barely take on them. It was also because of the strong defense of his body that he was able to withstand a few of the punches. But he did not like the feeling of being crushed by others. Where's the problem? Long Fei looked carefully. Finally, seeing that the mini black holes was no longer active, it continued to burn nonstop. Is that the problem? The mini black holes had always been revolving and devouring energy, but now it was not spinning or devouring energy. Did this mean that the energy was being filled up? Is that what you mean? Long Fei turned sinister and ignored the situation. The idea entered the mini black holes and ordered, "Explode." Rumble. An explosive sound came from Long Fei's body. An extremely strong energy shot out, directly sending the golden body Grand Court flying. Buzz! At this moment, Long Fei's entire body ignited with flames. Anger. The effect was exactly the same as the explosion of anger value within the game. His entire body was on fire. The flames enveloped Long Fei. Clenching his fists, Long Fei felt an inexhaustible power. If there's devour, then there's explosion. Understand, the mini black holes is continuously devouring and filling its power. Now that the filling is complete, it's time to explode. Understanding all of this, Long Fei's mouth curved up slightly as he stared at the Grand Court that was knocked flying and said, "Your sister now. It's my turn." Boom! His body disappeared. Flames burned the void. He instantly appeared in front of Grand Court. This speed was so fast that Grand Court could not even react, and his fist smashed into Grand Court's abdomen. Grand Court glared and spat out a mouthful of blood. His abdomen seemed to have been pierced through as a ball of flame rushed into his body and continued burning crazily. Wow! Blood sprayed out wildly. His body was also blasted into the air. Long Fei was already waiting in midair for another punch to explode out. Grand Court's body caved in again as he plummeted down. As he fell, Long Fei's fist exploded wildly. "Hit my woman? Scolding your father? Mocking me? Die!" The eruption of the Tao Tai's wrath caused every one of Long Fei's fists to bring about extreme, explosive injuries. His entire body suddenly seemed to have become like a super saiyan. This pattern of anger was too crazy. A carefree feeling let Long Fei experience an unprecedented feeling of satisfaction. When Grand Court landed, his body was already destroyed. System beep. Ding. 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 Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Grand Court. Do you wish to absorb its realm? Yes, sir. Of course. Long Fei moved his body, killing a person to level up. If there was a higher level, he would naturally want to take it. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for leveling up, currently at the 9th stage of the Profound King stage. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining Flame Essence. The system beep ended. Long Fei slightly froze for a bit and couldn't help but scold in his heart. F***K. You got something like that? Can you be a bit more magnanimous? It's hard for killing system to drop something, but don't be like that. No one is easy to mess with. Long Fei said bitterly. A killing and upgrading system's explosive rate could not be described as low, but rather extremely rare. They had fought their way from the Heaven Martial Pavilion all the way to here. Shinling Arhits did not explode. The 8 Grand Court S did not explode. Right now, even Shin Pavilion's strongest boss Grand Court only dropped one item. How low would the drop rate be? It was so low that it made one's hair stand on end. In the past, being so berserk and cool, and also with the system's various special rewards, now that everything was fine, without even a strand of hair exploding out, Long Fei had the urge to die. System, you have already become a killing system. Why hasn't your drop rate increased too? Long Fei felt depressed in his heart. Maybe this is the system's designer balancing the system? In the past, when the system killed players to gain experience, leveling up would be a little difficult, but it had a high drop rate. Normally, powerful bosses would drop dead. Now that he had killed many people to level up, leveling up was much easier and the drop rate was lower. Since you gave it to me, you should let me be lawless? That's great. If I were the designer, I would have definitely designed the system to be abnormal. A level 99 blade with equipment everywhere. This is great. Long Fei complained a few times. Then he looked at the only thing that dropped in Grand Court, the Flame Essence Origin, a fiery red stone. It was similar to a fiery colored crystal, so he couldn't tell what its actual purpose was. It was just that, the moment he held it in his hand, Long Fei felt a very strong flame power, as if it was the power of a flame ancestor, which could make any flame become stronger. Fire element. Long Fei looked at the series of question marks that appeared on the system interface. His heart was also shaken. I wonder, after the underworld fire absorbs, will it break through the Emperor of Underworld and enter an even higher realm? Underworld fire, the power of the universal realm's ancient inheritance. It needed to absorb all sorts of powerful flame energy in order to achieve a breakthrough. Back in the God's Twilight Instance dungeon, Underworld fire had absorbed the magma of hell and made a breakthrough into the realm of Emperor of Underworld. However, from that time onwards, Underworld fire would have no use in absorbing ordinary fire energy and would not be able to break through the Emperor of Underworld again. If they wanted the Underworld fire to break through, they would have to find higher-level flame elements. Right now, the flame essence in Long Fei's hand looked like a tiny crystal, but it contained an endless amount of fire elements. The killing and upgrading system's explosive rate was extremely high, but either he didn't explode, but if he did, then it was definitely a good item. However, Long Fei had not completely understood the killing system's attribute just yet. Xian, who stood up and looked at the nearby Long Fei, she saw the golden body of the Grand Court being smashed into meat paste by Long Fei, and her heart secretly trembled. However, at this time, what she was thinking was not how strong Long Fei was. What exactly was this super treasure on his body? They were thinking about the promise Long Fei had made to save her, and she had also saved the profound jade. Go to bed with Long Fei in whatever position Long Fei wanted her to assume, she would do it. Thinking of these, Xianhu's face started to burn. She wanted to find a hole in the ground to hide in. Xianyu didn't know what kind of agreement Xianhu and Long Fei had. Seeing that Long Fei had survived, Xianyu immediately ran forward and said happily, "Master is indeed powerful." While they were talking, she threw herself in a Long Fei's embrace. At this moment, Neza's voice sounded, "Grandma, Grandma, I want to eat Grandma." Long Fei's head was spinning. Afraid that Neza would throw himself into Xianyu's arms and do something out of the ordinary, he thought to himself, "I haven't even enjoyed myself yet, so don't do anything rash. From the moment I appeared, you knew that I was not your master. On the way, you were the only one who was afraid that I would abandon you." Xianyu's face turned red, like a child who had done something wrong. She lowered her head and asked, "How do you know?" Long Fei said, "Do you know that you have a bad habit of talking in your sleep?" Xianyu was surprised. She giggled and said, "Hee hee. What did you hear?" At this moment, Xianhu turned around quietly, intending to leave without a trace. However, Long Fei suddenly shouted out and said, "Who is that? Want to leave? It's fine to leave, but do you want me to fulfill your promise before you leave?" Xianhu's cheeks flushed red. She was originally a mature woman, and was one of those who had never opened seals before. He didn't know whether to leave or to stay, so he felt extremely awkward. Xianyu doubtfully asked, "Are you talking to my aunt? What did my aunt promise?" Long Fei revealed an evil smile and said, "Your aunt has promised many things. For example." Xianhu's face became even redder. His body suddenly turned and stared straight at Long Fei. His fists tightened, as though he was saying the words out loud. "This old lady will fight you to the death." However, the more she is like this, the more Long Fei will say and say. She said that as long as I save her, she will sleep with me. Xianhu screamed out, his entire body rushing towards Long Fei. "I'm going to kill you." Xianyu was taken aback. However, Xianhu rushed in front of Long Fei, and before he had even punched out, Long Fei had already grabbed him in one hand. He laughed sinisterly. "I am now a peak realm of the profound king, and you want to kill me? What are you going to use to kill me?" With a frivolous tone, he stared at Xianhu with blazing eyes. Xianhu struggled fiercely. Her body was already injured, and Long Fei's cultivation was much higher than hers. She could not move at all, and could only be hugged tightly by Long Fei. Xianhu's eyes seemed to spew fire as he said, "Let go of me." Long Fei said, "No, you are my woman now. You promised to go to bed with me, and you promised." Xianhu screamed even louder, "Ah!" She was embarrassed to the point that her face was flushed red. She wanted to use her voice to cover Long Fei's voice to prevent the people around her from hearing her. Seeing that she was screaming nonstop, Long Fei's body suddenly sunk, his mouth fiercely slamming downwards. Xianhu thought about what happened under the stone, and her mouth shut. However, she was thinking too much. Long Fei laughed sinisterly, stuck his mouth close to her ear, and gently exhaled, and said, "Recover your injuries, and then you'll be able to properly serve me on the bed." Aha! Long Fei was like a demon now. Long Fei was like a demon now. He would never be lenient towards his prey, and he would never let it go. A beautiful nun like Xian, who was cold and proud, high up in the sky, her eyes filled with ruthlessness, and that made it even more important to not let her off the hook so easily. Xian, who had no other choice. Her body was trembling. She wanted to struggle. She wanted to resist, but right now, she was not a match for Long Fei. He could only do as he pleased. She hated him dearly in her heart. Seeing the evil smile on Long Fei's face, she wished to kill Long Fei. Long Fei possessed his body and released Xianhu, then said evilly, "Don't even think about escaping. You won't be able to escape from my palms." Xianhu's teeth chattered with hatred as he trembled all over. Xianyu supported Xianhu and said, "Aunt, have you fallen in love with him as well?" Xianhu. Xianyu looked at Long Fei with an expression of infatuation and said, "Big brother Long Fei is really handsome." Xianhu said, "Sooner or later, I will kill him." Long Fei didn't hear him at all. At this moment, on the other side of the plaza, Lei Gang was being chased by hundreds of Xian Pavilion disciples. He was not afraid in the slightest, nor was he interested in fighting. Boom! The power of 8 combined forces erupted, and the vigorous energy of the supreme force knocked away the 100 disciples. His body fell down heavily. Boom! The ground cracked, and the powerful force behind the explosion caused even the air to tremble. Long Fei muttered, "What a strong inner force." In Xian City, if it wasn't for Nez's help, Long Fei really wouldn't have been able to defend against one of Lei Gang's attacks. Originally, he wanted to kill Lei Gang and get his level, but he never thought that Lei Gang would actually recognize him as his master. Adding on to that, Lei Gang did not care about the fact that the Xian Pavilion was rushing towards him to save him. It made Long Fei feel quite touched. Long Fei said lightly, "Lei Gang, I'm fine." When Lei Gang saw Long Fei and then saw the complete mess outside of Illusory Palace, his eyes shook and he said, "Master, this place." Long Fei replied, "It's fine." Xinyu added, "Big brother Long Fei is really amazing since he managed to solve everything that has happened." Done. Alone. Lei Gang looked at the surrounding corpses. Of either Xianling Arhats or Pavilion Masters had been dealt with by Long Fei alone. How strong was this? One had to know that the Xian Pavilion was one of the strongest forces in the world. He was crushed just like that. Even Lei Gang found it a little hard to believe. At this time, the disciples of the Xian Pavilion rushed up to the plaza from all around. Looking at the corpses in the plaza, it was as if they had gone crazy. It was as if the legend in their hearts had been shattered. Long Fei ignored him. He was no more than a passerby to the world. Long Fei said faintly, "Let's go." An elder said in a heavy tone, "Hold on." All the disciples were startled. Everyone turned to look at Long Fei, fury in their eyes. Long Fei coldly snorted, "What? You all didn't die enough. You all want to die a little more, right?" The elder said, "The law of the jungle is the law of survival in this world. You destroyed the Xian Pavilion, causing the disciples of the Xian Pavilion to lose their confidence. You can't just leave like this." Long Fei said, "If I want to go, can you stop me?" Lei Gang's aura gushed out and protected him by his side. The elder said, "I beg you to stay behind as the Grand Court. Although we all hate you, only you are able to protect our lives. Otherwise, in less than a month, our Xian Pavilion will inevitably become a pile of loose sand. All of them will die. Please stay." Long Fei was slightly taken aback. Many disciples were also stunned. However, a few seconds later, some disciples kneeled down. Plop, plop. After that, they kneeled onto the ground. Their eyes were filled with hatred, but they all understood one thing. Once Long Fei left, there would be people fighting their way to Xian Pavilion in less than half a month. They only had one fate left to them: death. The fact that Long Fei could monopolize the 9 Grand Courts meant that his cultivation had reached a terrifying level. Any power would fear him and would not dare to offend him. Adding on the fact that Long Fei had the super treasure on him, it would be even more terrifying. The powerhouse was revered, the survival of the fittest. In the world of martial artists, there was nothing more important than to live. As for enmity, compared to being alive, what was that worth? If he couldn't even preserve his life, how could he avenge himself? Xianhu regained his composure and said, "He's right. You left them alive, and once you leave, the Xian Pavilion will definitely fall." Long Fei looked at the people around him, then looked at Xianhu again and said lightly, "It's just right. I need a place to rest for a while, and you also need a place to recuperate from your injuries. We need a very spacious and soft bed." "Haha. All right, I'm not leaving for now. You may disperse. In addition, anyone who wishes to seek revenge on me must do so without hesitation. Long Fei said lightly. The Xian Pavilion has a wealth of information to investigate the affairs of this world. The seven-flame flower he was here for. Only by finding the seven-flame flower would he be able to leave this plane and return to the Hall of Eternal Life. He did not want to stay here for his entire life. This was not his world, nor was it his battlefield. His world in the universal realm was the same on the battlefield. The crowd dispersed. Long Fei looked at Xian Hu and said, "You are more familiar with this place. Take the two of them and recuperate from your injuries." Xian Hu's face turned cold. Long Fei reminded him, "Don't even think about escaping. I'm the king of the Xian Pavilion now, and every single move of yours is under my control." The three of them left. Long Fei walked into the illusory palace, called over a few elders, and asked, "Does the Xian Pavilion have anything called a seven-flame flower?" Several elders shook their heads. "Never heard of it. Never heard of it. Is this a spirit grass or a divine treasure?" Long Fei was secretly depressed in his heart. Xian Pavilion was one of the strongest forces in the world, yet no one actually knew what seven-flame flower were. That was difficult. Long Fei didn't know if it was a spirit grass or a divine treasure. "Who?" Long Fei exhaled and said, "Send people to investigate and gather some information about the seven-flame flower in various places. Also, take out the ancient books of the Xian Pavilion regarding spirit grass and divine treasures. I want to read them." The few elders immediately went to do so. Long Fei thought of Xian Hu and said, "If Xian Hu wants to leave, there's no need to stop him. Just notify me immediately." "Yes, sir. Go." After a few days, Long Fei flipped through a few ancient books in Illusory Palace, but didn't find any information related to Seven Flame Flower. There was no useful information coming from outside. Long Fei would only be able to go back after he found the Seven Flame Flower. If he couldn't find it, Long Fei would never return. F***CK. Don't tell me the Hall Master is messing with me. Long Fei muttered. At this moment, an elder rushed into the hall and said, "Grand Court, something bad happened." Long Fei was feeling agitated at the moment. That elder rushed in, making him even more unhappy. With a heavy voice, he said, "What is it?" The elder's expression changed, and he immediately kneeled on the ground. "Lo, Grand Court, yes, someone is fighting his way to Xian Pavilion." Then, he immediately knocked his head on the ground, not daring to look at Long Fei. Long Fei's eyes flashed and said coldly, "It's only been a few days. There are people causing trouble at our doorstep. No matter how fast the news spread, it wouldn't reach such a level." The only possibility was that there were people in the Xian Pavilion who were unconvinced with Long Fei and had colluded with other enemies to use their hands to get rid of Long Fei. Even if they could not get rid of him, they could let him have a taste of their pain and give him a test. After all, many people did not see what happened outside the Illusory Palace that day, and many people did not believe that Long Fei could win against the 9 Grand Courts alone. "Lead the way," Long Fei replied heavily. "When Laozi is truly annoyed, are you looking for death?" The elder immediately strode out. At the foot of the mountain, 100 black-robed experts surrounded the mountain gate. "Tell your Grand Court to come out. I heard that your Xian Pavilion has changed to another Grand Court. Call him out for us to meet him." A disciple said, "How can a Grand Court be seen just because you say so? Grand Court has so much to do. I don't have time to see you all. Go back there and don't look for trouble." The disciples of the Xian Pavilion were quite arrogant. If this was in the past, no one would have dared to make a ruckus at the entrance of the Xian Pavilion mountain. A black-clothed man sneered and said, "You people still think you are a former disciple of the Xian Pavilion? Do you think that Xian Pavilion is still the Xian Pavilion of the past? I'll give you 3 seconds. If your Grand Court still doesn't come out, then I won't be polite." As soon as he finished, the 100 black-clothed disciples let out a heavy cry. The man in the lead sneered, 3, 2, 1. "You're not coming out, right? You cowardly turtle. I'll beat you out." Immediately, he leaped into the mountain gate and coldly shouted, "Kill!" The disciples of the Shin Pavilion also went up to stop them, to behave atrociously in the Shin Pavilion. "Let's see how many of your lives you have." He was going to meet them head on. At this moment, a voice echoed from the distance. "Don't stop them. Let them in." All of the Shin Pavilion disciples were stunned. One of the elders immediately said, "Grand Court, they are Dark Hall's dark warriors. They are a group of fierce people, and Shin Pavilion is a sacred place. How can we let them step in and sully us?" Long Fei looked at the elder and said, "Since that's the case, then send them all out." Air. That elder's body slightly shrank. The leading black-clothed man laughed out loud. "The new Grand Court is just different. He's very sensible and sensible. It's really my first time coming to this Shin Pavilion sacred grounds. Brothers, let's all take a good look at this holy land to see what it looks like." Huh. Many people rushed forward, destroying everything in their path. On both sides of the road, all sorts of rare spirit grasses, trees, and stairs were destroyed. Many disciples of the Shin Pavilion were furious. However, what they hated now was not the Dark Hall's dark warriors, but the inactive Grand Court Long Fei. Why were they so afraid of people from the Dark Hall? Shin Pavilion had never been afraid before. It had always been the Dark Hall that were afraid of Shin Pavilion, and the Shin Pavilion had never been afraid of anyone from the Dark Hall before. But now, he was letting the dark warriors of the Dark Hall set foot in the sacred land. This was a humiliation to the Shin Pavilion. The leading man walked in front of Long Fei and said, "You are Grand Court?" Disdain was written all over his face. Long Fei nodded and said, "That's right." Just as he finished, Leader spat on Long Fei's shoes fiercely and laughed disdainfully. "From today onwards, I will take over Shin Pavilion." Scram to the side. He pointed his finger at Long Fei's chest heavily, and with a ferocious expression, he said, "Do you understand?" The dark warrior behind him said, "I told you to scram. Didn't you hear?" Long Fei smiled faintly and said, "You are the Dark Hall's dark warriors?" Leader asked. "Are you scared? Now that the Shin Pavilion is being taken over by our Dark Hall, get the hell out of here." Long Fei maintained his calm demeanor and said, "Can you tell me if it's the letter that the elder from Shin Pavilion reported to you? As long as you say it, I will make your death more comfortable." It was very calm. No killing intent, no anger. Leader paused for a few seconds and could not help but burst out laughing. "Ha ha, let me die more comfortably? Wow, what big word you have there. I'm so scared." The dark warriors also laughed in unison. "Ha ha ha." Suddenly, a black mist burst out from Leader's fist. His eyes were filled with anger as he roared, "You dog, kneel down." Boom! A single punch contained the power of rage. Suddenly bursting out, it was exceptionally fierce. Furthermore, it was a sudden attack. There was no time to dodge at such a distance. However, Long Fei didn't even try to dodge. He just stood there motionlessly, allowing his fist to strike his body. Bam! His strength exploded. Long Fei's body did not move at all. The leader's eyes shook. Long Fei said coldly, and said, "You've punched, and now it's my turn, right?" The man's pupils suddenly contracted. A palm appeared in the reflection of his eyes. Pa! A loud explosion resounded. The man was slapped to the ground, and with a pung sound, he fell onto the ground. He was unable to move and directly lost consciousness. Everyone quieted down. They all looked at Long Fei as if he was a monster. Long Fei said coldly, "You are all Dark Hall's dark warriors?" The faces of those people changed. At the same time, they rushed towards Long Fei. The 100 of them moved, surrounding Long Fei. Long Fei lightly hooked his finger and said, "Let's all go together." Boom! Rumble! Boom! All of them pounced towards Long Fei. Long Fei's aura moved, releasing the body of Taoti's power. The 100 black warriors were instantly sucked in by Long Fei's chi. Rumble! In just a few seconds, all 100 black warriors knelt down on ground. Long Fei swept the place with his cold eyes and said, "Even dregs like you dare to be arrogant in front of me." Bam! 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 With each stomp, they were all stomped to smithereens. When they were in Illusory Palace, they did not personally witness it. Now that they saw it, this kind of power was completely beyond their imagination. 100 black warriors were trampled to pieces. The last man woke up. Looking at the corpses around him, his body trembled fiercely, trembling violently. He looked at Long Fei and felt that what he had offended was not a human, but a death god. Long Fei said indifferently, "Can you say it now?" Leader looked up and said, Yes, it's him." He pointed at a Xian Pavilion elder. It was the Xian Pavilion elder who spoke just now. His face was pale as he stepped forward and hacked the man to death with a palm. Long Fei's gaze turned cold as he stared at the elder and said, "I hate people who take advantage of others. Tell me, how do you want to die?" That elder was so scared that he immediately kneeled on the ground and said, "Grand Court, don't kill me. I was wrong. Wrong. Too late." Long Fei walked forward. That elder was extremely frightened and almost peed his pants in fright. His lips trembled as he said, "I know where the 7-flame flower is." 7-flame flower? 7-flame flower? Long Fei's expression tensed up. He took a step forward and asked, "Where?" The elder trembled in fear as he said, "Grand Court, you promised not to kill me. I will talk about it later." Long Fei replied, "All right, I agree." The 7-flame flower was exceptionally important to him. Without it, Long Fei would not be able to return. The elder said, "He's in the divine sect." Huh? Long Fei's eyes narrowed. He stared at the elder and asked, "Are you sure?" The elder immediately replied, "I am sure that an old friend of the divine sect revealed this to me a few years ago when he was drunk. The current sect master, Yi Wuqian, found it in a secret world. He also said that every single petal of the 7-flame flower had the effect of reviving the dead. Everything I say is true." Long Fei listened silently. This fellow's words didn't have much credibility. A picky person could do anything to protect his own life, but to the Long Fei who did not have a clue, he would not let go of any information. There was a moment of silence. Long Fei looked at the elder and said, "You can go." As if he had received an amnesty, the elder stood up and ran out. However, before he had even taken 3 steps, Long Fei struck out with his palm. Boom! With the strength of a peak profound king level, he had killed that elder with a single palm strike. Everyone was shocked and looked at him with astonished eyes. He had clearly promised not to kill him, yet he suddenly made a move. Furthermore, it was a sneak attack. Wasn't this too untrustworthy? Long Fei did not explain, because he did not need to explain. He was the Grand Court of the Xian Pavilion. Dogs couldn't stop themselves from eating feces. People like them, who were able to collude with people from the Dark Hall once, were able to collude with people from the Dark Hall twice. They absolutely could not let them live. Long Fei returned to the Illusory Palace and gathered a few clan elders. Did you all hear what that elder said just now? How credible is it? Does the divine sect really have 7-flame flower? An elder's heart was filled with fear. His voice trembled as he replied, "Reporting to the Grand Court, the divine sect is the strongest power. They collect all kinds of divine treasures. Any kind of divine treasure is possible." Long Fei disdainfully said, "What you say is nonsense." That person was so scared that he instantly kneeled on the ground, not even daring to breathe loudly. Their fear of Long Fei now exceeded everything else. Long Fei's methods to deal with the Dark Hall's Dark Warrior were too strong. They could not even understand what he meant. Not just these elders. The disciples of the Xian Pavilion were all boiling with excitement. Long Fei was too strong. Long Fei looked at the other elder and asked, "Tell me." That elder said, "This I do not know, but 7-flame flower are so important to the Grand Court. I cannot let go of any news. Send someone to check on the divine sect first." "What do you think?" Long Fei asked. "How long will it take?" The elder said, "The longest is 3 years, and the shortest is a year. There should be results." Long Fei's eyes turned cold as he said, "I can't wait that long. I'll make a trip myself." Long Fei did not want to waste too much time here. He had to return to the universal realm as soon as possible. Western regions would never let this matter rest. There would definitely be big movements to chase and kill those who escape from the Western regions. You had to get back as soon as possible. An elder immediately replied, "Absolutely not, Grand Court. You are now the king of Xian Pavilion. Your words and actions represent the entire Xian Pavilion. The divine sect is too dangerous, and Yi Wutian has even stepped into the holy realm. If anything happens to you, Xian Pavilion won't be able to protect you." The other elders also followed suit. Long Fei completely ignored him. An elder said, "Isn't Lei Gang from the divine sect in the Xian Pavilion? We can ask him about the 7 flame flower first." These past few days, Lei Gang had been recuperating in his closed-door cultivation, so he did not know about Long Fei searching for the 7 flame flower. Long Fei said, "I forgot about him." "All right, you may disperse." Finished. Long Fei took a step forward and immediately flew towards the direction of the recovery peak. Other than Lei Gang, there was another very important matter that he had forgotten. It's been a few days. His injuries should be more or less healed now, right? Long Fei laughed sinisterly. Healing Peak. As the name implied, it was the place where wounds were recuperated. When Xian Hu and the other 2 came here, the rest of the people who were recuperating completely retreated. In the huge sanatorium, only Lei Gang, Xian Hu, and Xian Yu were left. Xian Hu was also considered obedient and did not quietly slip away. Actually, she also knew in her heart that if she couldn't leave, the entire Xian Pavilion would be Long Fei's. Where could she escape to? Even if she wanted to escape, Xian Yu wouldn't let her go. Adding Lei Gang, it would be even more impossible to escape. "I'm here. How's your recovery going?" Long Fei shouted as he walked into the sanatorium. Xian Hu's body trembled slightly, his eyes cold and heartless. Clenching his fists tightly, he hid a small dagger inside his sleeves. Xian Yu hopped out and said, "Big brother Long Fei." Lei Gang also walked out and said respectfully, "Master." Long Fei looked at the 2 of them and asked, "Have you recovered?" Xian Yu nodded and said, "There is a healing hot spring here. Its effect is very good. You just need to soak in it a few times." Hot springs. Long Fei was evil again. Lei Gang also said, "Xian Pavilion's healing mountain is well-deserved. My old bones have also gotten 9 levels." Long Fei asked, "What about the other one?" Xian Hu walked out from another place. He was dressed in a Taoist robe, and his hair was tied up into a bun as he held a horsetail whisk in his hand. His eyes were still as cold, heartless, and arrogant as usual. With a height of 1.8 meters, it really was extremely cold. Long Fei looked at her and laughed wickedly. "It seems like my injuries have recovered. Perfect. I'll be staying here tonight." Xian Hu's expression immediately sunk, and his body under the Taoist robe trembled slightly. Long Fei said, "Girl, prepare some clothes for me. I want to go soak in the hot spring." Xian Yu immediately said, "Yes." Xian Hu also wanted to leave, but Long Fei suddenly said, "You don't have to go. What you promised me should be done, right? Take a bath with me first, then we'll take our time tonight." Ha ha! An evil laugh like that of an evil demon king. Xian Hu's eyes were cold and filled with killing intent. It was as if it wanted to kill Long Fei immediately. Long Fei did not mind at all. Kill him? There was probably no one in this world who could do this. The hot spring in the sanatorium is at the edge of the cliff at the back of the mountain. The milky white hot spring water gently churned and flowed, giving off a white mist, giving people an incomparably comfortable feeling. The entire rear mountain was composed of Long Fei and Xian Hu. Long Fei walked to Xian Hu's side and said with an indifferent tone, "Undress me." Xian Hu's cheeks flushed red. Looking at Long Fei's back, she bit her teeth, and a sharp dagger in her sleeve stabbed forward. It pierced into Long Fei's back. Clang! The dagger shattered. Long Fei scratched his head and said, "Can you undress now?" Xian Hu let out a roar as he struck out with his palm. It struck on a Long Fei's back. It was still like scratching an itch without much strength. But Long Fei softly sighed and said, "Sigh, I'm very angry now. Time and time again and again, this was not good." Long Fei suddenly turned around, grabbing Xian Hu and throwing him to the ground. Walala! He threw it into the hot spring. Long Fei leaped, and before she could even crawl out of the hot spring, Long Fei immediately pressed down on her body, pushing her down once again into the water. And then, Long Fei began to become extremely overbearing. The more cold and proud he was, the more domineering the method would be. You are aloof? You are heartless? These are all trash in front of Lousy. Hot Springs War. It was a complete mess. All sorts of storms, all sorts of cycles. After a long time, Long Fei leaned on the rock, soaked his body in the hot spring, and said indifferently, "It would be great if I could have a cigarette at this time." Looking at Xian, who was sprawled on the other side, with the corner of his eyes red, Long Fei said, "I told you to stop struggling. It hurts, right?" Xian, whose eyes were still filled with hatred. If there was a chance, she would still kill Long Fei. But now, let alone a chance, she didn't even have a bit of strength left. He was completely exhausted. Long Fei said, "Don't worry, from today onwards, you are my Long Fei's woman. If anyone dares to bully you, I will make their entire family pay." All right, blistering a bit longer will help the wound heal. Long Fei walked out from the hot spring. After putting on his clothes, he glanced at the silent Xian Hu and laughed sinisterly. He strode out. Walking out of Source's courtyard, Xian Yu immediately went to greet him. "Is my aunt all right?" Long Fei said, "Go take a look. Don't think I didn't know you were peeping." Xian Yu blushed and said, I don't have any." Long Fei said, "No, little girl." Xian Yu's face was completely red as she swiftly ran out. Her heart rippled with spring as she inwardly wondered when she would be in Long Fei's embrace. Wherever, no matter what, Long Fei always had a charisma that women found hard to resist. Any woman who came into contact with him would be attracted by his unique aura. Madam, was Xian Hu cold? Cold. Abnormally high and cold. Did she have any way to avoid Long Fei? Yes, a lot. If he were to force her with his death, Long Fei would absolutely not touch her. He would not do so for his entire life, because there was no meaning to it. However, Xian Hu did not. She was struggling in her heart, attracted by Long Fei's powerful strength. She was grateful to Long Fei for killing people for her and saving her. But she hated men. It was as if the two of them were fighting in her heart, and there was no way to tell who would win. However, in the end, she gave in. She cried not because of anything else, but because it was really too painful. Her heart was filled with the indescribable feeling of having just tasted a forbidden fruit. What Long Fei said made her heart warm. The profound Jade looked into the distance at Xian, who with a hint of small happiness in her eyes. The profound Jade jumped into the hot spring, leaned on Xian Hu and said, "Aunt, being a woman must feel really good, hee." Xian Hu stared at her. "Little girl, what are you thinking?" Xian Yu said, "I want to be a woman too." Seven Flame Flower? Never heard of it, but once Yi Wutian brought a few elders into a mysterious secret world and was even heavily injured. After returning, he went into closed-door cultivation for an entire year before he recovered. After Yi Wutian came out of seclusion, he immediately broke through the Holy Realm and was also the only godlike powerhouse in the world. "Master, why don't I go back to the Divine Sect and ask around?" Lei Gang said seriously. Long Fei shook his head. "You are no longer a member of the Divine Sect, and when you return, even the Divine Sect will not let you off." "I plan to go to the Divine Sect." Lei Gang's eyes shook and said, "Master, it's true that Yi Shiluo is not very powerful, but his brother Yi Wuqian is completely different. If you kill Yi Shiluo, the entire Divine Sect will definitely not let you off. You can't go." Yi Shiluo was the vice sect master of the Divine Sect. His own older brother, Yi Wuqian, was even the master of the Divine Sect, the strongest person in this plane. Long Fei went to the Divine Sect. Would Yi Wuqian let him go? Moreover, was the reason why Yi Shiluo killed the Xianzes and searched for super treasure secretly permitted by Yi Wutian? Maybe this super treasure was what Yi Wutian wanted? If Long Fei went, wouldn't he be walking into a trap? Long Fei said, I must find the 7-flame flower. I might have to leave this world if I find the 7-flame flower. Long Fei said indifferently. Lei Gang looked at Long Fei, and the expression in his eyes tightened. He knew that the universe existed in countless dimensions, and that this plane would only be a drop in the ocean in the universe. Even the powerhouse S were breaking through the void, stepping into an even higher realm. He wanted to find a stronger martial Tao true soul, looking for eternal life. It was not strange that Long Fei wanted to leave, but it was a bit sudden. Lei Gang said, "Since Master wants to go, I will bring you there. I know the way." At this time, Xin Yu came out from nowhere and said, "I want to go as well. If Yu Wutian wants to destroy my Xians, then I want to take revenge too." Xin Yu stood at the side with an ice-cold expression. However, his eyes were no longer as cold as they were before. "Didn't you say that no one would dare to bully your woman? Now, I want you to avenge my Xians' people." Long Fei looked at each and every one of them and said, "All right, then let's go together. If a 7-flame flower was found in the divine sect, it would be activated. At least, I could say goodbye at that time." Long Fei was still a little reluctant in his heart, especially these two beauties. Neza stretched his back and said, "Daddy, neither of them is worthy for you. At most, they will be your personal maidservants. They are not qualified to be your wives, nor are they qualified to be my mother." Long Fei laughed and said, "Brat, your standards are quite high. Then what kind of woman is qualified to be your mother?" Neza said without any hesitation, "Nine Heavens Holy Maiden." Long Fei was startled and said, "The 9 Heavens Holy Maiden? What kind of woman is that?" Neza said, "Daddy, I'll tell you when you meet me. You won't understand even if I tell you now. Anyway, I can only think of the 9 Heavens Holy Maiden if there's anyone in this world that's worthy of you." Who is the 9 Heavens Holy Maiden? What plane is she in? What was her innate talent? In this world, there was no one who was worthy of him. There was only one who loved him the most. To Long Fei, there was no such thing as being worthy or unworthy. Long Fei laughed, treating Neza like a child, and did not put him in his heart. The divine sect was built on the summit of the heavenly God mountain range. The divine sect was built on the summit of the heavenly God mountain range, at the closest place to the sky in the heavenly God mountain range. It was impossible to see the end of it at a glance from high up in the clouds. Powerhouse. Half of the powerhouse in the continent came from the divine sect. The various powerhouse S rushed back to the main hall of the divine sect. They were all powerhouse of the profound king realm, and quite a few were peak realm of the profound king realm. These people were all super powerhouse that couldn't be hidden from others, and they were hiding somewhere to cultivate in seclusion. Very rarely did it appear in front of the world. But this time, each and every one of them had come out of seclusion and gathered in the main hall of the divine sect. There was only one thing that could get them out of seclusion, and that was that the divine sect was under threat. According to the scouts, Xian Pavilion's new pavilion master is about to arrive. He dared to come to the divine sect after killing vice sect leader Yi. We must not let him leave here alive. It is said that the Xian Pavilion is looking for 7-flame flower everywhere. Is there such a spirit grass in this world? He's looking for something to search for our divine sect's territory. I think he's here to throw away his life. Rumor has it that this new pavilion master is exceptionally strong and has merged with the Xian's super treasure. In a short 1 day's time, he broke through from a nether passage realm to the profound King's Peak realm. Ha! You actually believe that? Every realm is the breakthrough of a martial artist's perception and the breakthrough of the body. If he were to break through to the profound king realm in a day, why doesn't he say that he will change himself? Regardless if it's true or not, to be able to kill the 9 Xian Pavilion S, he must be very strong. What are you afraid of? If he comes, this daddy will be the first to let him kneel down and call his ancestors. With us here, not to mention a mere pavilion master of the Xian Pavilion, even if the entire Xian Pavilion invades, what can they do? Make sure he never comes back. You're right, Xian Pavilion is nothing. Our divine sect's forces completely crushed him hundreds of years ago. If not for their Xian Pavilion, having some kind of supreme array, would they dare to be impudent in front of us? Inside the main hall of the divine sect, all the old monsters were extremely arrogant, looking down on Xian Pavilion. To these old freaks, the divine sect was just an indestructible Xian Pavilion. To them, destroying them was just a matter of words. This was also the truth. The divine sect was already the #1 power in this world. A short while later, a disciple said with a voice transmission, "Sect Master has arrived." Instantly, the main hall immediately quieted down. They were filled with respect towards Yi Wutian. It was not only because he was the sect master of the divine sect, but also because he was the continent's most powerful powerhouse, the only person who had entered the holy realm. The respect these old monsters gave him was mostly due to the latter. Yi Wutian walked out from the side with a piece of black cloth on his sleeve. He was still reminiscing about his little brother's death and deeply lamented Yi Xiaoluo's death. If the distance wasn't too far, he would have rushed over long ago. The corner of his mouth revealed a pleased look that no one could see. With a single order, all of the old monsters had come out of seclusion, which was enough to prove his prestige. Yi Wuqian coughed lightly and slowly said, "You all should know what it is that have gathered all the elders here. I received a huge threat from the newly appointed pavilion master of the Xian Pavilion, who is also the murderer of the vice sect master and is about to come to the divine sect. There must be something extraordinary about this new pavilion master for him to be able to kill the 9 grand courtiers of the Xian Pavilion. There's a saying, if the good does not come, the good will not come." The reason he gathered all of his elders was to discuss the countermeasures. It was said that this person was young, but he had fused with a super treasure and had the power of devouring. As long as his body came into contact with the beast, he could instantly absorb its essence and surpass the Xian Yuan. The body, an existence which has reached the divine body level. "Elders, what countermeasures do you have?" An elder took a step forward and said, "I only want to say one word, kill." As soon as he finished, all the elders in the hall shouted in unison, "Kill!" The sound of battle shook the skies. The entire great hall was filled with rumbling sounds, and it was shaking inwardly. An elder said, "He killed the vice sect leader. If we don't take revenge for this, how will we face our divine sect? Forget about him killing the 9 experts of Xian Pavilion. Even if he has 3 heads and 6 arms, he will still take revenge. Revenge! Revenge!" Everyone shouted in unison once again. The divine sect was high and mighty. If even the vice sect master was killed, how could they not avenge it? Yi Wutian said, "You are right. If this enmity is not avenged, where would the face of the divine sect be? I had originally wanted to wait a little longer, but since he has come to my doorstep, I have to leave his life behind." An elder said, "Sovereign, could it be that he came alone because of some other matter? Rumor has it that he came to the divine sect to ask about the 7 flame floweress. Does the sect master know about them?" Yi Wutian did not reveal any expression. His eyes only shrank slightly as he said lightly, "The 7 flame flower never appeared in this world." Another clan elder immediately said, "He is here to find fault. What 7 flame flower? This old man has studied spirit grass pills all his life, but has never heard of such a thing." Yi Wutian said, "Elder Ling is the #1 alchemy master. He has never heard of it. Who else has?" Without waiting for the elder to continue asking, Yi Wutian said, "Since all the elders have no objections, then I will give the order. Peak Zhen, listen up." An elder walked out and said heavily, "Divine Peak Zhen here." Yi Wutian said, "This person's cultivation is unpredictable, so do not get near him. Your Peak Zhen has set up a strange array, and regardless of whether it is useful or not, it will still be a wound if you harm a single one of his hair." "Understood." The old man quickly retreated. "Wu's Peak, listen up. Divine Spirit Peak, listen up." His strongest power would be used against Long Fei. The divine sect had never done this to anyone before. However, this time was different. Yi Wutian wanted to use the strongest cannon to attack the weakest mosquito. No matter where he hid, he would be killed. "Kid, just you wait." The crowd dispersed. A few elders stayed behind. Among them was the spirit king of the Powder Peak. Yi Wuqian looked at them and muttered, "Follow me." The seat moved. A secret room appeared in the great hall. Yi Wuqian took the lead to enter the room, and the three elders hurriedly followed. He passed through the dark passage and arrived before a stone door. A stream of aura from Yi Wuqian's body surged out and activated the stone door, which slowly opened. At this moment, golden light shot out in all directions, and he could not even open his eyes. Even if Yi Wuqian was Holy Realm, at that moment, his eyes could not help but avoid the light and did not dare to look straight. In the middle of the secret room, one flower. It couldn't be described with words. It should be described with the word tree. There was a gigantic lava tree, filled with flowing lava. On top of the lava tree grew 7 golden flowers, and each flower only had 1 petal. What was flowing on the petal was not a blazing fire, but a kind of pure power. Pure yang qi that could reverse fate and revive the dead. Each petal represented a type of pure yang body. The 7 petals combined into one. The pure yang body was invulnerable to all yin. 7 flame flower S were extremely beautiful. 7 flame flower S were extremely beautiful. It was a pleasant sight to behold. The moment Yi Wuqian walked into the secret room, his expression changed abruptly as he asked in a heavy voice, "Who is it? Who said that?" Boom! His voice shook, and Holy Realm instantly filled the entire secret room. The bodies of the 3 elders sank, fear appearing in their eyes, and they didn't dare to make a sound. Yi Wuqian swept the surroundings with his cold eyes and stared at the 3 of them. The last 4 of us in this world who knew of the existence of 7 flame flower. Why did everyone know that there are 7 flame flower in divine sect? The 3 lowered their heads even lower. Humph! Yi Wuqian's sleeves swept across the place heavily as he turned around to look at the 7 flame flower that was flowing like golden water. Suppressing the anger in his heart, he asked, "Have you investigated clearly why that kid wanted the 7 flame flower?" An elder said, "Not yet. The Xian Pavilion's disciple reported it, but the new pavilion master did not say anything. Why the hell does he want 7 flame flower? What kind of spirit grass is this? Or is it a divine treasure? We haven't been able to figure this out for so many years." Yi Wuqian's eyes trembled as he looked at the bud of one of the petals. There were 7 petals of each flower growing on the smelting flame tree. Ever since he brought it out from Secret World, he had crippled 9 oxen and 2 elders of the Yi family, and had to recuperate from serious injuries for a whole year before he could recover. After all these years, he still could not figure out what this 7 flame flower was used for. But now, since someone was looking for the 7 flame flower, an elder said, "Senior brother, why not let him enter?" Yi Wuqian's eyes turned sinister. The elder immediately said, "We do not know the use of the 7 flame flower, or perhaps the new pavilion master of Xian Pavilion knows. Let him come here. We will hide in the shadows and see what he wants to do. Then we will know the use of the 7 flame flower." One of the clan elders immediately said, "It's too risky. I don't agree. We used our lives to bring the 7 flame flower out of the secret world. What if we let that brat ruin it?" "I don't agree either." Another elder also agreed and said, "Even if he isn't a divine treasure, even if he isn't a spirit grass that came back from the dead, he definitely can't let anyone else obtain it. But don't you think it's a pity to just leave it like that? Over the past few years, we haven't been able to understand this 7 flame flower at all. I've flipped through countless ancient books, but still couldn't find any information related to it. Senior brother, maybe that kid really does know." Yi Wuqian went silent. What happened in Secret World that day was still fresh in his mind. This 7 flame flower could not possibly be an ordinary beast, but he did not know how to use it. Even after studying it for a few years, he still could not discover its use. He could only feel the hot air. This kind of aura was impossible to cultivate and could not be endured. Yi Wuqian believed that it was hiding some kind of secret. After a long time, Yi Wuqian said lightly, "You guys go out first." The 3 of them shivered slightly. Without another word, They slowly exited the secret room. Yi Wutian looked up at the gigantic lava tree. There were 7 flower petals on each of the 7 branches. Oh, if I want to break through the void, I'll need the assistance of a divine treasure. Yi Wutian closed his eyes slightly, his eyebrows tensed up, and a drop of blood essence flew out from between his brows. He muttered to himself. The aura around his body dispersed continuously. The ancient Buddha descended. Buzz! A slight hum came from the secret room. Streams of energy intertwined with each other and slowly spread down, finally completely disappearing from the ground. After doing all of this, Yi Wutian opened his eyes and said indifferently, "Let's bet." The godly capital, the largest city on the continent. It was also the only way to the divine sect. It was built at the foot of the divine mountain. Once you passed through this city, you would be able to enter the divine mountain. The divine sect was established at the peak of the divine mountain. Lei Gang said, "Young master, in front of us is the divine capital. It is the most prosperous, the biggest city." Long Fei felt awkward when he was called master, and in the end, he called Lei Gang young master. This at least didn't sound weird. Shock filled the depths of Xianhu's eyes as he said, "I've always wanted to take a look at the capital, and today we're finally going to arrive. I heard that there's everything inside the capital." Lei Gang smiled faintly and said, "Other than the super treasure, there should be everything else." Xianyu said, "Then what are we waiting for? Hurry up and go in." She couldn't wait. Neza couldn't wait and kept yelling, "Yummy, yummy, I want to eat yummy candied fruits, braised pork elbows, sweet and sour pork, steamed pork thigh." The more Neza said, the more his saliva couldn't hold out and kept dripping. Long Fei disdained, "You glutton! You are slow down." Xianhu chased after her. She also wanted to enter the divine capital faster, wanted to see the prosperity of the divine capital. Shopping, shopping. Long Fei smiled faintly and said, "Let's hurry up too." Lei Gang nodded and said, "In." As he got closer and closer to the god capital's door, Long Fei didn't feel anything. However, Lei Gang felt that it was a little strange because there were very few people on the streets. This was completely different from the crowded scenes from before. Although the capital had 8 gates that led in every direction, every single one was extremely crowded. But this time, there were actually very few people. Is it because there is some great meeting in the city? All of them went to the other city gates? Lei Gang had doubts in his heart, but he did not voice them out loud. He walked to the entrance of the city. The guard was also indifferent. Looking at Long Fei and the others, he said coldly, "Go in." Lei Gang could not help but ask, "What happened in the city? Why are there so few people?" The guard impatiently said, "Why are you asking so many questions? If you want to enter, then enter. If you don't, then scram. Why are you asking so much nonsense?" Xianyu and Xianhu didn't care that much as they skipped into the city. Long Fei said, "Let's enter the city and take a look." Lei Gang responded as he followed beside Long Fei in a low voice and said, "Young master, I keep feeling that something is amiss. Even the gods in the past have never been so cold and lonely." Suddenly, Xianyu screamed. Long Fei's eyes turned cold, but he did not think much about it and rushed forward. What happened? Xianyu and Xian, who were stunned in place and didn't move an inch. Long Fei rushed forward, and when he saw that the two were all right, he could not help but ask, "What are you guys doing in such a state?" Xianyu murmured, "You call this the divine capital? This should be called ghost, not to mention human. I haven't even seen a ghost." Lei Gang walked forward, his eyebrows tightened, and said, "Young master, there's an ambush." At this moment, rumble. With an explosive sound, the city gates closed. In that instant, buzz. A yellow flag rose from the center of the capital. Buzz. A stream of power spread out and covered the entire city. Xianhu immediately rushed towards the city gate and knocked hard, a force above the city gate sending her flying. Long Fei supported her back with one hand and neutralized the impact. Lei Gang's eyes darkened. "Young master, we are entering the array." The great god had become an empty city. The great god had become an empty city. It was so quiet that it terrified people. Long Fei caught Xianhu and looked at him. Enter the array? What do you mean? Lei Gang pointed to the yellow flag erected in the center of the city, and his eyes darkened. 8 stunts array of the divine peak Zhen. We are currently in a formation. The yellow flag is the initial formation. We are currently in the 8 stunts array. And Xinyu asked, and what? Lei Gang said, this 8 stunts array can only be set up by the 8 highest level elders of the divine peak Zhen. He is also a high-level formation in this world. 8 extinctions. Each one is a great killing array. Only the dead can come out. No living person can leave. Xianyu secretly clicked her tongue, looked at Long Fei, and said, Big brother Long Fei, what do we do? Xianhu was not convinced. With a move of his, he rushed into the sky. Boom! With one step, he flew into the sky and said with a deep voice, I don't believe in 8 stunts array. He leapt 100 meters into the air. Boom! With an explosive sound, something that looked like an electric net engulfed the entire sky and directly bombarded Xianhu. Lei Gang shook his head. It's useless. Unless we break the formation, there's nowhere to run the sky or on the ground. Long Fei grinned. That powerful? Lei Gang said. This is the strongest formation in the divine peak Zhen. Looks like they already knew that we were coming to the divine sect. Otherwise, it would be impossible to set up the 8 stunts array. This kind of formation requires a lot of time to prepare and cannot be set up for a long period of time. Long Fei said, Only by breaking the formation can we leave? Lei Gang said, We can only break the formation, but we can't break it. Until now, when the 8 stunts array was created, no one can break it, and even the current most powerful powerhouse, Yi Wuqian, cannot break the formation. So awesome. Long Fei smiled slightly and said, I can't stand seeing something that's more awesome than me. Since it's so awesome, then I'll break it. As soon as he finished, Long Fei stepped forward. Buzz. His body was devoured by the light waves and disappeared. The profound jade was shocked and was about to charge forward, but was caught by Lei Gang with one hand and said, Don't go in. The place where everyone is going in is different. The more people who go in, the more dangerous it is. We are currently in a formation, but if we do not move now, there will not be any danger. Xianhu's eyes were filled with worry, and he asked, What about him? Lei Gang frowned and did not say a word. 8 stunts array, great killing array. The more people entered, the more vicious it became. The moment Long Fei entered the array, the surrounding atmosphere suddenly changed. It wasn't the streets of the divine capital, just now, but an ancient battlefield. At 2 hillsides, there were thousands of warriors on both sides of the hill. Long Fei stood within the valley. The moment he appeared, the battle drums began to ring. Bang, bang, bang. The general in the lead drew his sword and shouted, Kill! Walala! Warrior on both sides of the hill madly rushed down. Long Fei was startled. Illusion. Protect your heart. With a flick of his finger, it cracked. The best way to break out of this illusion was pain. However, the moment Long Fei opened his eyes, he was still in the mountain valley, and there were no changes whatsoever. Can't solve it? Interesting. Long Fei was secretly shocked, then looked at the surrounding warriors who were rushing down from the left and right, and said, Just kill each other. That's not right. Why do I see that their eyes are locked on me? Long Fei's eyes turned cold. He scolded in anger. Damn. Are you all here for me? Kill. Charge. Walala. Walala. He originally thought that this was just a battlefield, and that Long Fei had entered by accident. But he didn't expect that the tens of thousands of warriors on both sides were waiting for him to appear. A black mass was rushing towards him. Long Fei was too lazy to escape. Facing such a low-level warrior, escaping would be too shameful. Come. I'll take however many there are. Long Fei did not move at all. He released the power of the body of Taodi and allowed the warrior to attack him. Rumble. 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 It was a crazy attack, with a black mass of people surrounding Long Fei in the middle. S body was completely surrounded by them. unable to move at all. However, these warrior on the battlefield had no effect on his attacks at all. It was completely useless. Long Fei muttered, "Not fun. All of you get down." The power of Long Fei, who was at the peak of the profound king realm, suddenly surged. Die. Boom! A stream of energy shot out and directly covered all the warriors. Just as Long Fei thought that he could easily crush these people to death, his eyes tightened. Fuck! He couldn't help but curse. Because the rank of these warriors changed from the lowest level in the beginning to the profound king level after Long Fei released his power. The same level as him. All of them were peak realm of the profound king. Tens of thousands of powerhouse of the profound king peak realm. This was defying the heaven's will, let alone the divine sect. Even the entire world would not be able to defend against so many powerhouse at the peak of the profound king realm. Rumble, rumble. In an instant, the powers of these people underwent an earth-shattering transformation. They continuously struck and exploded with power, as if they were continuously bombarding. Damn, this formation, the 8 stunts array, does it really want this daddy's life? Long Fei frowned. Initially, he did not need to dodge, but right now he could only dodge nonstop. Too deadly. The cultivation of these people have changed due to the change in the power that I released. How can I break it? Long Fei locked his eyebrows. Neza said, "Daddy, hope is born." The power of this formation was provided by the person who entered it. Long Fei said, "How do I break it?" Neza said, "Destruction of the heart." Annihilation? How? Kill yourself? Long Fei was a little confused. Neza said, "Yes." "Right what?" Long Fei said, "Kill yourself." "Is that even right?" Neza said, "Daddy, you faked your death." Long Fei said, "How do I fake my death?" Neza said, "Lie on the ground and feign death without moving, despair, emptiness, and then feel like the world abandoned you. It's that simple." Long Fei laid on the ground, both his eyes looking at the sky, and muttered, "I was really abandoned by Earth." Thinking about what happened on Earth, wanting to become a universal realm, he really fell into despair. At this moment, rumble, a loud explosion resounded. The yellow flag in the center of the city suddenly began to burn, finally turning into ashes. Impossible. No one can break the 8 stunts array. No one knows the secrets of the 8 ultimate. How preposterous. Blue flag up. Long Fei lied on the street. Seeing that, Xianyu immediately ran over and said, "Big brother Long Fei." Huh. Long Fei got up from the ground. Lei Gang said excitedly, "The initial formation has been broken. Now, it's the second formation." Long Fei looked at the blue flag in the distance and said, "It's too troublesome. I broke it in one go." Even if he were to die, he would be able to break the formation? Even if he were to die, he would be able to break the formation? Long Fei had seen many powerful formations before, but this was his first time encountering one of these. If it wasn't for Neza, he would have broken through the formation. All formations were supported by some kind of force. As long as one broke the point of support, the formation would naturally break. This was a tough method. Seeing the blue flag erected at the center of the city, Long Fei didn't want to waste too much effort. He directly said, "I am not here to cause trouble. Tell your sect master to come out and meet me, or hand over the 7 flame flower, and I will leave immediately." "How dare you?" A loud shout came from the center of the city, and said angrily, "How could a lowly person like you be able to see sect master? Who do you think you are? Do you think that the pavilion master of the Xian Pavilion is so powerful? In the eyes of our divine sect, your Xian Pavilion is nothing. Brat, don't think that just because you broke through a formation that you are so formidable. You're still far from it." He mocked in disdain. Long Fei said blandly, "I really am not here to cause trouble, but if you say so, then if Lousy doesn't do something, Lousy will let you down. Are you King selling?" Neza attack. The idea moved. In the distance, a miserable scream could be heard. "Ah!" Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing God Peak Jun Elder. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing God Peak Jun Elder. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing God Peak Jun Elder. The system kept beeping. 7 consecutive sounds. The 8 stunts array. Each wave was guarded by an elder. One after another, 7 elders died, while miserable screams continuously rose up from the city, without even knowing how they died. Moreover, he didn't even know how to defend against it. They had no idea where Neza appeared from, nor did they know how Neza did it. By the time they could react, they were already dead. Long Face said lightly, "It's all because of you. You're the last one left. Now can you speak properly? I hate killing people the most. Come out, we'll have a good talk." The level of these elders was not as high as his, so he naturally had no interest in killing them. The system's drop rate was also low. Regarding this matter where he failed to reap any rewards, Long Fei was truly too lazy to move. The elder was instantly struck dumb. You just who are you?" He was scared silly. The faces of Lei Gang, Xianhu and the others who were beside Long Fei were also filled with shock, as they did not know how these elders had died. Long Fei said in a bland voice, "I am just an unremarkable nobody. My purpose in coming to the divine sect is to meet with your sect master. There is nothing else. You have something to talk about, don't you? It's not good to do anything. I'm a civilized person." Xianhu stared at Long Fei with contempt. Civilization? A civilized man could kill all 7 elders in a matter of half a minute. This was a civilized person, arrogant to the point of being arrogant. How could he be civil? Lei Gang, on the other hand, had a face of worship. Compared to the Xian city, Long Fei was now even more unfathomable. The elder said, "Just you wait." Long Fei said, "All right, I'll be waiting. Don't do anything reckless." Before he could finish his words, the elder let out a miserable cry. Long Fei let out a long sigh and said, "I already said that you shouldn't act rashly, and that if you try rashly, you'll immediately die. But why do you want to cause trouble? I don't like to kill people." The last elder of the divine, Peak Jun, died, and all the flags in the middle of the city fell down. The streets were still deserted, not a single person in sight. However, the power of the 8 stunts array had already completely disappeared. The strongest formation in the world, the one that no one had ever been able to break, had been broken by Long Fei in a few minutes. Of course, it was all because of Neza. Long Fei's son was too intrepid. Long Fei muttered to himself and asked, "Son, why are you so strong?" Neza held a piece of candy in his hand and giggled. "It's all because Daddy is strong. That's why I'm strong, hee. I'm strong. Even if I'm stronger, I'm not stronger than you." Long Fei did not understand. He did not know how he became strong, but at least he was not able to kill the 8 extreme elder in such a short period of time. Neza quietly did it. Is my blood essence really that valiant? Long Fei secretly thought, even more valiant than when he was in Universal Realm? Is it because of that eternal coffin? Immortal blood vein? Ruh, I must be overthinking things. I can't even go back to my own home. How can I live in immortal blood vein? Eternal life, my ass. Long Fei exhaled deeply and said, "Lei Gang, lead the way." What? All of the 8 supreme elders. In the main hall of the divine sect, Yi Wutian's eyes turned sinister. His hand slapped down hard. The sect leader's throne trembled, and the entire hall shook. The 8 stunts array is the #1 formation in the world. Why? How come I can't even last 10 minutes? This person, what kind of background did he have? Is he really only at the realm of the profound king? Perhaps he's just a little more knowledgeable about formations. Seems like the super treasure he absorbed from the Xians is really powerful. What are you afraid of? Would the grand divine sect be afraid of him alone? An array is still an array after all. It is just an unorthodox technique that won't result in anything great. I'm willing to bet that Brat will immediately die at the hands of the Divine Master of Wu's Peak. A Divine Master of Wu's Peak is the peak realm of the profound king, an invincible existence under the realm of gods. That's right. Other than the divine master of Wu's Peak, there are 3,000 divine martial disciples. I do not believe that anyone can pass through. There was a flurry of discussion in the hall. He was filled with confidence. The divine sect was unrivaled in the world, and the divine Wu's Peak had the most elite disciples of the divine sect. The strongest existence among the master of Wu's Peak S of the God realm. No matter how strong Long Fei was, it was impossible for him to win. With his 8 stunts array broken, Yi Wutian was extremely shocked in his heart. At the same time, he was also increasingly curious about what kind of person could break such a powerful formation. However, he was also extremely confident in the divine master of Wu's Peak. Even if he wasn't his match, he could still hold Long Fei for a few days and nights. However, right at this moment, an elder ran in anxiously and said, "Sect Master, the peak owner of the divine Wu's Peak has died in battle." Walala! A voice rang out. They were all shocked and dumbfounded. At first, he was just bragging, but now, they died in the blink of an eye. The master of Wu's Peak was awesome. Awesome to the point that he couldn't even last a minute. Even the 8 stunts array and divine Wu's Peak were unable to stop Long Fei. In his heart, he knew that there was no one else in the divine sect who could stop him. Immediately, Yi Wutian said in a heavy voice, "Summon all the elders and have him come to the divine sect." The 2 major hurdles of the divine Peak Jun S had not even lasted half an hour. The 2 major hurdles of the divine Peak Jun S had not even lasted half an hour. How strong was this? Yi Wutian knew that the remaining obstacles would not stop Long Fei. Rather than getting one of them destroyed, it would be better to gather them all and form the final super battle to defend against Long Fei. All the powerhouse elders returned to the main hall of the divine sect. Long Fei became unimpeded. "I'm not here to cause trouble." "How good is that?" Long Fei said very arrogantly. "What I hate the most is killing people. Why must you all suffer?" Lei Gang was filled with black lines as he said, "Young Master, Divine Peak Jun S, Divine Wu's Peak S are the 2 strongest powers in Divine Sect. Now that the 8 Extreme Elder and Divine Master of Wu's Peak are dead, Yi Wutian will definitely not let you off." Xian Hu asked, "Is the 7 flame flower that important to you?" She wanted to leave. Even if Long Fei passed through the 8 stunts array and the divine Wu's Peak with ease, she was still worried for Long Fei. If the 7 flame flower wasn't that important, she didn't want Long Fei to go to the main hall of the divine sect. Long Fei said lightly, "Very important." Xian Hu stopped talking. Xian Yu said, "We must avenge Father, the dead uncles and Xians. We must avenge Father. However, Big Brother Long Fei, if you are only here to take revenge for our Xians, we can avoid it. Yi Xiao is already dead, and the great vengeance in our Xians has been avenged." So, Long Fei said, "I am not completely here the divine sect to avenge my Xians. 7 flame flower S are very important to me, and I cannot leave this place without them." Xian, who was startled, "You want to leave?" Xian Yu also stared at Long Fei. Long Fei didn't want to hide it, and also didn't want to avoid this question. "I come from another world. The reason I came to this world is to find the 7 flame flower." Xian Hu's expression was dejected, but on the surface he said, "It's best if we leave. Hurry up and leave." Xian Yu said, "Big Brother Long Fei, why? Isn't this place good?" "Don't go, okay?" His eyes were filled with reluctance. Although he had long known that Long Fei was about to leave this world, he was still unwilling to part with her. Long Fei said, "I'm sorry, I have to leave. There are still many people waiting for me to save them. I'm a passerby for the world." Xian Hu looked at Long Fei as she tightened her fists under her sleeves. She really wanted to ask, "What about me?" But in the end, he did not ask. Xian Yu's expression was downcast. She was speechless. There were some things that he had to face. If Long Fei did not say it now, when he left, it would seem even more heartless. There was nothing he could do. He had to leave this place and return to the Hall of Eternal Life. He also had to return to the Universal Realm. If you want to return to the Universal Realm, the first step is to return to the Hall of Eternal Life. Right now, his system was even more powerful. He didn't need to prepare anything at all. As long as he brought the killing and upgrading system back to the universal realm, he would be able to stomp the Emperor Xian to death with each step. How are Lan Mei and the rest? Is Xin Yuan Li ready? How is Queen of Blood Moon? What happened to the brothers? Long Fei was always worried in his heart. There were also concerns here, but he had to leave. The road to the main hall of the divine sect was not far away. But when Long Fei said these words, his speed became slower. The profound jade soul was restless. Every step he took was slow. Xianhu's eyes were still as cold and heartless as ever, and they were even colder than before. The hatred towards men in her heart was even stronger. If she could, she really wanted to kill all the men in the world. Long Fei did not urge him, and slowly walked forward, his heart also unwilling to part with them. This was perhaps his last step in this world. Long Fei slowed down his pace, causing the elders waiting in the main hall of the divine sect to feel extremely tormented. What's going on? It's just a small step. Why does it take so long? What is he doing? What's the meaning of slowing down? Should we send someone to rush them? How long do we have to wait? Master, why don't we kill our way out? I don't believe that a mere Xian pavilion master can overturn the heavens. Waiting was torturous, especially since the wait for Long Fei after killing the 8 Ju elders and the divine master of Wu's Peak S became even more torturous. The elders in the great hall could no longer sit still. He was like an ant on a hot pan. Yi Wutian's heart was also on fire, as he said solemnly, "Although I don't know what kind of medicine he's trying to sell, we'll all wait. Wait here. I want to see what the hell he wants. Everyone calm down. If he slows down, we can discuss our next plan. If he can absorb profound qi, how can we deal with it?" Yi Wutian comforted the many clan elders. He did not want to send anyone out to die. He wanted to clearly inspect Long Fei's situation here. He had to find Long Fei's weakness. They also had to know what Long Fei wanted the 7 flame flower to do. What exactly were 7 flame flowers' uses? He wanted to know. Otherwise, all this would have been in vain. It took him a full 3 hours to travel the distance that was originally only half an hour. It was already dusk. Xianyu ran to a resting pavilion. Setting sun pavilion. So beautiful. Black jade looked at the sunset, the fiery red glow imprinting itself on her cheeks, making her look even more gorgeous. Profound jade watched as the red sun slowly set, and mumbled, "I really hope that this moment continues forever." Xianhu also slowly walked over, looked at the sunset, and coldly said, "Time can stop, but the human heart cannot." Lei Gang said indifferently, "Young master, the divine sect's main hall is above us." Yes. Long Fei walked into the pavilion, walked between the two of them, and held their small waist with both hands as he said indifferently, "Time cannot stop, and people's hearts will change as well. The sea will wither, and the rocks will rot, but my heart will not change. When I'm done, I'll definitely come back. I swear to God," Long Fei said seriously. Profound Jade turned her face to look at Long Fei and asked, "Big brother Long Fei, is it true?" Xian, who coldly snorted and said, "Don't ever believe a man's words." Long Fei said, "You don't believe me?" He hugged Xianhu tightly and leaned half of Xianhu's body into his embrace. Then Long Fei fiercely kissed him. He frantically demanded it. It crazily crushed everything in its path. It was incomparably domineering, suffocating. After a long time, Long Fei said, "Do you believe me now?" Xianhu panted heavily, his chest rising and falling as he said, "I don't believe it." He was still very stubborn. Long Fei said, "You will believe it." Xianyu said, "Big brother Long Fei, can you bring us along?" With you." Long Fei's heart trembled. "Can I?" The dimension door would only open for her, but can you bring people back to the Hall of Eternal Life? Just as Long Fei was thinking about this, a divine sect elder standing in the pavilion fumed and said, "Brat, are you King coming or not? You came to the divine sect to talk about love?" He was being looked down upon. He was being looked down upon. He carefully took a step forward and gathered his strength in his heart, maintaining a position that would allow Long Fei to block all attacks. With a soft voice, he said, "Young master, this is an elder of Sky King's Peak who is in closed-door training." "Humph!" The elder coldly snorted. "Traitor!" He did not spare Lei Gang another glance, and instead looked at him once more and said, "Brat, hurry up and send yourself to your death." Long Fei held onto a beauty with one hand and turned around as he smiled lightly. "The scenery here is good, so it's very suitable for us to talk about love." The elder angrily rebuked. "What do you take the divine sect as?" Long Fei said, "Is this the place where I talk about love? What's wrong? You can't?" His tone was extremely arrogant. Just as he was about to attack Long Fei, at this moment, a voice came from afar and said, "Pavilion Master likes to chat about love here, so of course it's fine. But the scenery is even better. Why don't you come up and take a look?" Lei Gang's gaze tightened and his body collapsed even more tightly as he said, "Young Master, Divine Sect Master Yi Wutian." The moment he appeared, Long Fei immediately felt a unique aura. This was the only powerhouse in the world with Holy Realm. His aura carried a strong sense of oppression, and even if he did not release the kind of pressure, it still carried that kind of intense pressure. It was terrifying. Xianhu and Xianyu's hearts were trembling. If not for Long Fei holding them, they would have probably knelt down unsteadily. Long Fei also felt the pressure of the Holy Realm, but the suppressive power of a transcendent divine body was unable to crush him. Long Fei smiled faintly and said, "Sect Master Yi." Yi Wutian also smiled faintly and said, "Pavilion Master Long." At this moment, many elders appeared one after another beside Yi Wutian. All of them were in the realm of the profound king, and many of them were elders who had lived for a few hundred years. There were many powerhouse in the profound King Peak realm. Cold sweat trickled down Lei Gang's forehead. He never thought that so many closed-door elders would have already come out. Long Fei laughed. "What a big battle formation. Is it to welcome me?" Yi Wutian said, "Since Xian Pavilion's new Grand Court has come to my divine sect, of course I have to welcome them properly, or else how would I be worthy of your status?" "Ha!" After which, he let out a long laugh. Long Fei said, "Does your divine sect not have beauties? I prefer beauties to welcome me. All of them are old men. Is the divine sect a Buddhist temple? How boring." An old man shouted angrily, "Brat, what are you doing in the divine sect? You dog, you killed the vice sect master, the divine formation 8 extreme elder, and the divine master of Wu's Peak. Do you think you can still escape today? Is the Xian Pavilion considered a bird? Compared to my divine sect, Xian Pavilion is not even an ant." A few of the elders with fiery temper spoke up. Long Fei picked his ears and said, "Your mouth is so stinky. Did you eat tea at noon?" As soon as he finished, a red-haired old man stared with his eyes as wide as a lantern and said heavily, "You're courting death." Boom! The aura of a peak profound king instantly ignited. The flames moved as he directly pounced towards Long Fei. Rumble! Boom! The 100-meter radius was filled with a blazing chi. The old man suddenly disappeared, and in the next moment he was right in front of Long Fei. Lei Gang's pupils tightened, and he moved. "Young master, be careful." Long Fei's hands suddenly loosened, his body fiercely straightened, and directly used his own body to force his way up. With a sneer, he coldly said, "See who's courting death." Boom! The two palms collided with Long Fei's chest like the same flames that could topple mountains and overturn the seas. His chest was burning. The clothes were char-black. However, at the same time, the flames on his palms seemed to have been doused by water, extinguishing the flames in an instant. The old man's body started to tremble uncontrollably. Her body was like an eggplant frozen in ice, lying down on the ground, slowly kneeling in front of Long Fei. All of his profound chi was drained. He did not even have the strength to speak, and only had eyes that were filled with anger staring straight at Long Fei. Long Fei kicked over and stepped on it. Who wants to die? I'm going to ask who wants to die. Boom! With a stomp on the elder's body, his gaze swept across the place, causing Long Fei's expression to change. He smiled lightly and said, Sect Master Yi, your people are really disobedient. The entire hall was silent. Yi Wutian's eyes revealed a sinister look, his fists clenched tightly in his sleeves. The surrounding elders looked at the elders at Long Fei's feet and could not say a single word. At the beginning, they did not believe that Long Fei possessed such power, but just a moment ago, I saw it with my own eyes. Their hearts sank, and fear could be seen in their eyes. Yi Wutian said with a heavy tone and words that seemed to burst with flames, Pavilion Master Long, this is the divine sect. Long Fei replied, I know, but so what if they are? Is the divine sect really that strong? Is the divine sect that powerful? Is the divine sect really that great? Can the celestial sect scold people? It was incomparably domineering. With that, Long Fei laughed. The divine sect is only SOSO. The powerhouse should have the attitude of a powerhouse. The powerhouse was still pretending to be weak and still wanted to crash into idiots. What was the meaning of that? The reason for becoming strong was to crush them. It was all for the sake of acting cool. Otherwise, what was the point in getting stronger? Long Fei was not the type of person where a powerhouse still pretended to be weak. Even if he was stronger, he would at least pretend to be stronger than others. Yi Wutian's face turned ugly. Not only him, even all the elders of the divine sect had ugly expressions on their faces. All of them stared at Long Fei, wishing that they could tear him to shreds. Yi Wutian suppressed the anger in his heart and said, Pavilion Master Long, you killed my vice sect master, 8 Zhu clan elder, and so many disciples of the divine Wu's peak, and now you also killed my esteemed elders and so many people. I want to know why you have come. Long Fei said, 7 Flame Flower, you knew about it since a long time ago. The thing that I hate to do the most is kill people. I didn't think that I would actually kill so many people from the divine sect. Hand over the 7 Flame Flower, and I will leave immediately. You'll be a grandson if you stay just a second longer. How is it? Long Fei looked at Yi Wutian. He was not sure if Yi Wutian had any 7 Flame Flower on him either. If he said he didn't, then he would have to personally blow it out. The killing and upgrading system's drop rate was extremely low, but he still had to give it a try. Yi Wutian did not say that he did not have a 7 Flame Flower, but asked, I would like to know why you're looking for one. There must be a reason, right? Long Fei said, There's really no reason. If you really want a reason, it means that you can fly me. Sect Leader Yi, hand it over. Otherwise, I'm going to do something I hate very much. Yi Wutian's eyes turned sinister as he asked, What is it? Long Fei casually said, Killed people. It was very easy, very casual. It was very easy, very casual. If you don't hand it over, then I'm going to kill you. How arrogant. No one had ever dared to be so arrogant in the divine sect. In this world, there was only Long Fei who could kill in front of all the powerhouse-ass of the divine sect. Not only did he kill them, he had also crushed the entire divine sect. You don't like it? He was in a bad mood and wanted to show his prowess. No one dared to come out, and even Yi Wutian did not dare to easily fight. He still did not know the depth of Long Fei's cultivation and did not know the limits of his limits. Our divine sect doesn't have anything that you want. There are no 7 Flame Flower at all. Exactly. You must be mistaken. What is a 7 Flame Flower? I've never heard of it. You're here to cause trouble. Even if we have 7 Flame Flower, on what basis do you think our divine sect should give it to you? Who do you think you are? Many of the elders spoke in a heavy tone. Long Fei ignored him and continued to look at Yi Wutian. Yi Wutian's expression told him that the rumors were true. The divine sect really had 7 Flame Flower-s. The mission given by the Hall Master of the Hall of Eternal Life was not fake. Letting him find the 7 Flame Flower meant that there must be a 7 Flame Flower in this world. Otherwise, he would have already become the peak powerhouse of this world. It stopped for a moment. Yi Wutian said solemnly. I do indeed have what you want here. As soon as he finished, everyone looked at Yi Wutian. Long Fei was overjoyed. I'm going to finish the mission. Xianhu's gaze tensed up. The profound jade tightly held on a Long Fei's arm. Sectmaster, is there really a 7-flame flower? What exactly does the 7-flame flower look like? What is a 7-flame flower? How come I've never heard of it? The faces of the 3 elders who knew about the 7-flame flower also darkened. They didn't know why Yi Wutian had said those words, but if he didn't say them, Long Fei definitely wouldn't be able to find them. They didn't know what Yi Wutian wanted to do. Yi Wutian said faintly, I am sorry, elders. I was the one who had been deceiving everyone, and a few years ago, I had coincidentally entered the mysterious secret world. The thing I brought back from the secret world should have been the 7-flame flower. Only, I never thought that 7-flame flower would actually make so many clan elders and disciples die. It's all my fault. Pavilion Master Long, since you want the 7-flame flower, I'll give it to you. You can't kill anyone from the divine sect anymore. Yi Wutian revealed a sorrowful expression. Long Fei replied, Of course. As I said, the thing I hate the most is killing people. As long as you hand over the 7-flame flower, I will not kill anyone. Right now, the only person that Long Fei wanted to kill in this world was Yi Wutian. This was because this guy was the only person that could help him level up. As for the other people, Long Fei was not the least bit interested in them. The killing and upgrading system was just like that. And towards those with lower levels, he was not the least bit interested. Yi Wutian said, Okay, please follow me. Then, he made a please gesture. Lei Gang lowered his voice and said, Young master, be careful of a trap. No one would casually give a treasure they painstakingly obtained to someone else. Was it really because some people died, Yi Wutian changed his mind? Absolutely impossible. The sect leader of a sect was absolutely not a kind-hearted person. Long Fei also understood in his heart and said, If something happens, you protect the 2 of them. Don't panic. I'll get someone to protect you. Lei Gang nodded and said, All right. However, he was suspicious in his heart. Long Fei didn't have anyone by his side. However, Lei Gang did not ask further. Long Fei walked over with large strides. Xianhu and Xinyu also followed along. To them, this might be their last chance to interact with Long Fei. Although Xianhu hated her in her heart, she loved Long Fei more in her heart. He walked into the main hall of the divine sect. Without any concealment, Yi Wutian immediately turned his seat around, and a huge entrance appeared in the middle of the great hall. The elders were in an uproar. Clearly, most of them didn't know that there was a secret room hidden within the hall. Yi Wutian said, Pavilion Master Long after you. And then, Yi Wutian strode into the secret room, and all the elders followed immediately. They, too, wanted to know what a 7-flame flower was. Long Fei also followed him in. The idea moved. Neza quietly left Long Fei's body and hid in the shadows, saying, Daddy, don't worry. I'll protect them. After walking through a dark corridor, everyone stopped. Yi Wutian released the power of Holy Realm and said immediately, Everyone close your eyes. Without my order, no one is allowed to take a step into the secret room. 7-flame flower are very dangerous. Yi Wutian looked at Long Fei and said, Pavilion Master Long, close your eyes for the time being. Long Fei smiled faintly and said, It's all right. Yi Wutian did not speak further. He activated the stone door, and the moment the stone door turned, a golden light shot out explosively, piercing into his eyes, making him look like a blind person for a short period of time, unable to see anything. Seeing that, Long Fei waved his sleeves, his heart sinking. Damn, the gold light is blinding, even more so than the super boss's halo. What exactly is this 7-flame flower? The stone door was completely opened, and the chamber seemed to be like another world. It was dazzling in gold and jade, and the walls were gleaming with a golden light. A huge lava tree entered his sight. The lava tree had 7 branches, and each stalk had a flower with a single petal. Flowers like fire. It grew above the flames. Call it 7-flame flower. Each piece of power was different. Heavens, is there really such a beautiful object in this world? Isn't this too beautiful? What the hell is this? I've never seen anything like it. It's too good to watch. All of them were so shocked that their mouths gaped wide open as they looked up. Neza sent a mental message. Daddy, this flower has an extremely powerful pure power. Be careful. Pure power. Long Fei was shocked. Yi Wu Tian reminded again. Don't go near. This flower is extremely dangerous. But before he could finish his sentence, an elder suddenly stepped in. Wang. Their bodies were destroyed. Not even a speck of ashes remained. Everyone was startled. They all hurriedly retreated. Yi Wu Tian said heavily, Don't go near. His eyes turned sinister as he looked at Long Fei. This is the 7-flame flower. If you want it, go in and get it. Xian Hu immediately grabbed Long Fei and said, You can't go in. Xian Yu added, It's too dangerous. That person just now couldn't even hold on for a second. He didn't even leave behind any ashes. We can't go in. Yi Wu Tian disdainfully said, Pavilion Master Long, the thing is right here. If you have the ability, go and take it. Big brother Long Fei, he wants to provoke you. Please don't go in. It was too dangerous. If you go in, you die. However, Long Fei's mouth curved upwards and smiled. I'm just not angered by others. I can't enter. I had to go in and take a look. Finished. Long Fei took a step forward. Yi Wu Tian revealed a cold smile. Prepare to go to hell. A strange formation had already been set up in the secret room. This formation was different from ordinary formations. A strange formation had already been set up in the secret room. This formation was different from ordinary formations. It was an array created by an ancient Buddha. This ancient Buddha was Yi Wu Tian's strongest divine treasure. Even the Xian Pavilion had super treasure. How could the huge divine sect not have one? How could the only holy realm in the world lack super treasure? Seeing that Long Fei was about to step into the secret room, the corner of Yi Wu Tian's mouth revealed a hint of a smile. Prepare to die. Xian Hu and Xian Yu pulled Long Fei along, one on the left and one on the right. They did not want Long Fei to enter. Long Fei looked at them and said indifferently, Don't worry, I will be fine. Withdrawing his hand, Long Fei stepped inside. Buzz! A scorching white smoke rose from beneath his feet. Chi-chi! It was as if a red-hot metal board had met with cold water, producing an ear-piercing sound. All of the elders widened their eyes as they looked at Long Fei. At this moment, they held their breaths. Am I going to die? Will it be evaporated soon? No one can get close, right? Even if he is the peak realm of the profound king, he won't be able to withstand such a powerful and unfathomable power. Who does he think he is? They really take themselves seriously. Disdain could be seen in his eyes, because the elder that walked in earlier was also a profound king peak realm, but he was vaporized without being able to endure for even a second. It was definitely the same for Long Fei when he stepped on it. Yi Wu Tian secretly laughed, Die. However, Long Fei's foot landed. The shoes instantly evaporated, and the legs of his pants were also instantly burnt to ash. But Long Fei did not evaporate. However, brown beast scales appeared on the back of his feet, as if they were stone blocks. Everyone was startled. Yi Wu Tian said solemnly, A super divine body. Long Fei took another step forward. Chi-chi, chi-chi. Another series of roasting sounds. His shoes had evaporated. As he walked barefoot on the ground, he could feel an extremely strong destructive force rising from the soles of his feet. One after another, the energy flowed into his body. His limbs and bones were all trembling. Very strong. However, the moment Long Fei stepped into the secret room, the many black holes started to frantically spin, and the destructive force that was rising from the bottom of his feet was crazily being absorbed. Long Fei's body formed a balance with the ground. Every step he took, his feet would suffer an extremely strong attack. In just a few seconds, it was completely absorbed by the black hole. 5 steps in a row. Yi Wu Tian's eyes turned sinister, his expression extremely ugly. How can that be? How could this be? Impossible. Any fleshly body should not be able to withstand this kind of attack. The power of extermination can exterminate any fleshly body. Why? Why? Yi Wuqian looked at the brown-colored bee scales on Long Fei's feet. What kind of body is this? He had never seen those bee scales before. Yi Wuqian naturally did not know that Long Fei's fused physical body was that of a body of Taoti. Seeing Long Fei consecutively take 5 steps, he couldn't help but become worried. If Long Fei obtained the 7-flame flower, Yi Wuqian's heart went cold. Absolutely not. The corner of his eyes locked onto Xian Hu and Xian Yu. His eyes moved slightly. The 2 elders nodded to themselves as they quietly moved behind Xian Hu and Xian Yu. But, suddenly, when Long Fei was about to take his 5th step, he suddenly stopped. Everyone was shocked. Why isn't he moving? My physical body can't take it anymore, right? Brat, why aren't you leaving? Keep walking, what are you stopping for? Exactly. Go on, it's only the 5th step. What are you stopping for? Everyone was puzzled. Yi Wuqian did not understand why Long Fei would suddenly stop. Logically speaking, he could only walk 5 steps, but he could always walk. Xian Yu said worriedly, Big brother Long Fei, come back. We don't need any 7-flame flower, okay? Xian Hu also hoped that Long Fei would return. However, Long Fei did not move and did not take his 6th step because at this time, the mini black holes had already finished filling up. Damn, it's only been 5 steps, and its anger value is already full. When the anger value is full, the mini black holes will stop spinning and absorb it. If he didn't release it, his body might not be able to withstand the 6th step. The reason why Long Fei could walk 5 steps was not because his body was strong, but because the mini black holes could absorb it. Now that the mini black holes stopped its circulation, Long Fei had to stop. I have to burst out this anger value and let the Tao Ye's absorption black hole resume its circulation. Otherwise, it really might turn into dust from my stomp. Long Fei muttered to himself. At this moment, Brat, why are you not moving? Are you afraid? An elder mocked. Long Fei's eyes turned sinister. Are you mocking me? The elder disdainfully replied, I'll just laugh at you. Are you sure you don't dare to continue walking forward? Laugh at you. Boom. Long Fei flipped his right palm, Buddha palm technique. His rage burst forth, and he infused it all into his body. He struck out with his palm. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The void exploded, and a flaming palm slammed onto the elder's body. Immediately, that elder was blasted into pieces, exploding into powder. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing sect elders. Release the anger value. The mini black holes returned to normal. Long Fei said in a disdainful voice, Laugh at you? You think you're worthy? The faces of the elders of the divine sect turned ugly. Just because he mocked Long Fei for being blasted to death with a single sentence, this Long Fei was so insolent, but they were worried that Long Fei would strike again, and their hearts burned with anger. Yi Wuqian said with a heavy voice as well, Pavilion Master Long, you promised me that you wouldn't kill anyone. Long Fei said, Ridiculing me is equivalent to seeking death. It's not me killing him, but him seeking death. Yi Wuqian said solemnly, You aren't going to kill me with just a few words of mockery, are you? If you kill again, don't blame me for being rude. This is the divine sect. Yi Wuqian said heavily. Long Fei smiled faintly and said, I'll try my best to hold back. He looked at lava tree in the center of the secret room and stomped his feet, wanting to fly over. It would save time. Moreover, he had already noticed that there were 2 elders standing behind Xian Hu and Xian Yu. Once they took action, they would immediately become Yi Wuqian's bargaining chips. He had to deal with it quickly. Seeing Long Fei suddenly fly up, Yi Wuqian squinted his eyes and smiled. Rumble! A powerful force struck down from the front. It was like a powerful net of energy had come crashing down, crushing Long Fei to the ground. Chi-chi! Chi-chi! The clothes on his body were set on fire and turned into ashes. Other than the bee scales that had turned brown on Long Fei's head, they also covered his entire body. Damn! Long Fei cursed in his heart. I can't fly. Just now, the mini black holes had already absorbed half of its anger, and if it were to do it again, its anger value would be full again. Just how much energy is in this secret room? Long Fei had to kill thousands of people to fill up the mini black holes' anger value, but after just 5 steps, it was already full. Now that it was lying on the ground, it directly rushed forward by half. Long Fei had to kill thousands of people to fill up the mini black holes' anger value, but after just 5 steps, it was already full. Now that it was lying on the ground, it directly rushed forward by half. It was simply a place where anger could be recharged. The stronger the force, the more one could absorb. The energy in this secret chamber was too thick. Long Fei stared at the 7-flame flower in the distance. Is it the power released from its body? If that's the case, then we have to be careful, just like Nezis said. Long Fei heaved a sigh of relief in his heart and walked forward. Buzz! The mini black holes turned into flames of anger. Long Fei turned around and looked at the elders of the divine sect and said, "Are there any who mock me again?" Everyone immediately shut their mouths. Yi Wu-Tian said, "Pavilion Master Long, no one is speaking. Please hurry up. If you can't do it, then don't ask for any more 7-flame flower." Long Fei said, "Are you sure no one is laughing at me? All of you are laughing at your father's slowness in leaving, right?" Yi Wu-Tian replied solemnly, "No." Long Fei grinned and said, "Not a single one. F***CK. This is really embarrassing. I can't even find a reason to kill someone." Then, Long Fei's right hand suddenly flipped, and his anger value surged as he struck out with his palm. A slightly wretched-looking elder had died a violent death. Long Fei said indifferently, "You're so ugly, and you still dare to come out?" Yi Wu-Tian's anger was burning, his fists clenched tightly. If the surrounding elders weren't afraid of the destructive power of the secret chamber, they would have definitely rushed forward. Long Fei was too arrogant. Yi Wu-Tian said solemnly, "What is the purpose of this assassination?" Long Fei said, "He's so ugly." Yi Wu-Tian said angrily, "Pavilion Master Long, don't go too far." Long Fei laughed and said, "There's no other way. I have this kind of character. If Yizong is unhappy, then I will make my move on you later." "How dare you? How preposterous!" Several elders were furious. "I can't wait to attack Long Fei." Long Fei took the opportunity and took 5 steps forward. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Anger value erupted once more. Long Fei struck out with his palm. "This old man is being too presumptuous. What do you want?" Another elder fell. An elder of the profound king stage was not even a palm of Long Fei's. Yi Wu-Tian stopped all the elders and said flusteredly, "Pavilion Master Long, please continue." His heart was filled with rage. However, he could not let Long Fei interrupt him, because he wanted to know what Long Fei wanted the 7-flame flower to do. He still had tricks up his sleeves. The ancient Buddha was a super treasure. It wouldn't be just this little bit of strength. His strength was far more than that. He had to pacify the elders of the divine sect and prevent them from destroying his plan. Otherwise, he would have already rushed forward to kill Long Fei. Long Fei had unleashed his strength several times with great strength. But he was confident that he could block this force. Long Fei's physical body was strong. He had a super divine body, and his physical body was also a peak realm with profound bodies. It was not weak in the slightest. And then again, he still had Xian Hu and Xian Yu on his hands. He had absolute confidence in controlling Long Fei, and was now waiting for Long Fei to solve the 7-flame flower's riddle. What was it? Yi Wu-Tian endured the anger in his heart. At this time, Long Fei shrugged and said, "Truly boring." In his heart, however, he felt much better. He had never done anything like this before. He would kill whoever he wanted and kill whoever he saw. Was there a need to explain himself? To Powerhouse. There was no reason for him to kill anyone. Long Fei looked at the lava tree, who was only 5 steps away from him, let out a heavy breath, and walked forward with large strides. Boom, boom, boom. 5 steps later, the anger value was once again filled. However, Long Fei came to the bottom of the lava tree, raised his head, and then looked at the seven flame flower above. When he looked through the system, his eyes shone brightly, and he muttered, "It really is the seven flame flower. Found it. The mission should have been completed by now, right?" However, Hall of Eternal Life's dimension door did not appear from thin air. Long Fei was not in a hurry either, probably waiting for the seven flame flower to be collected before appearing. Long Fei stepped onto the lava root. The flames went right up to his feet. Incomparable heat energy directly covered his entire body, and in that instant, the brown beast scales covering his body turned completely red. Long Fei could not help but let out a cry. Roar. A roar like the roar of a Taotai. Long Fei's entire body became scarlet red. It was as if he had transformed. The original black color had turned crimson, as if the flames had flowed into his body. The crimson liquid under his scales was also flowing. This power, pure yang energy, the body of Taodi can barely take it. Long Fei took out his leg, and white smoke continuously emitted from his body, as if he was cooling down. Yi Wutian looked at Long Fei, such a strong physique. The flames in the lava tree were actually unable to burn him to death. Everyone was looking at Long Fei. Secretly, Neza was the same. He transmitted to Long Fei, "Daddy, you don't have a pure yang body, so this kind of pure power will cause multiple times more harm to you. You must be careful." Long Fei said, "Neza, do you know how to gather seven flame flower?" Neza said, "This flower looks like seven flowers, but in reality, it's just one flower. You have to combine each flower to be considered as a success. If I want to collect all of them, I'll have to climb up one step at a time," but he almost couldn't take it after stepping into the tree. If he wanted to collect all seven flowers, he would need to climb up the tree. The damage it would cause to the body, immeasurable. Long Fei said indifferently, "I will be careful." Ooh. Long Fei let out a light breath and stepped forward. His entire body once again turned crimson and continuously emitted white smoke. It was as if he had turned into a blazing flame. Hall of Eternal Life. The Hall Master looked at a mirror of the void in the hall. Young Taoist behind him said, "Master, senior brother won't be able to take it. The level of the seven flame flower is too high. It basically does not belong to that world. It itself surpasses the tolerance of the senior brother." The middle-aged man clasped his hands behind his back and did not speak. Young Taoist's tears flowed down. "Master, if this goes on, senior brother will die." The middle-aged man remained indifferent, but he glanced at the black stone tablet in the corner of his eyes. The cracks on the stone tablet and the inscription on the stone tablet. After that moment, he clenched his fists, and then his eyes became emotionless. F asterisk asterisk K. He's going to roast me. Damn you. All of these were not melted flames, but his blood. If he were to let it cool down, his entire body would definitely be covered in blood. However, Long Fei had to endure, because he had to leave this world. He had to become strong, and he had to return to the universal realm. Standing on the first tree branch, he inserted one hand into the flames and dug out the first piece of seven flame flower, his fingers melting. Hiss! Long Fei sucked in a cold breath of air as his entire body trembled. "Fuck you." Seeing his own fingers melting, the pain was unbearable even for body of Taodi. Big brother Long Fei. Young master. Dragon. In regards to the profound jade, Xianhu suddenly took a step forward. Lei Gang also shouted. Long Fei said solemnly, "Don't come over." Hiss. Long Fei panted heavily as he climbed up another tree branch. The higher he climbed, the more liquid flowed out from the surface of his body. Not to mention crawling, it hurt just looking at it. Yi Wutian revealed a cold smile. "Let's see how long you can hold out for. Burn him to death. Burn him to death. Burn him to death." Many people were screaming in their hearts. Every single elder of the divine sect couldn't wait for Long Fei to be immediately burnt to ashes. Long Fei's body also continued to melt. "No, big brother Long Fei, don't. Xian Yu shouted. Xian Hu, who was incomparably heartless, also burst into tears. On the second petal, Long Fei once again fiercely inserted his hand and dug it out from the flames. Ah! Long Fei screamed in pain as he spat out a mouthful of blood. His entire body trembled crazily. The brown scales were melting. Daddy, you can't go up anymore. Your body is still unable to withstand the strength of the pure power. You won't be able to take it. Daddy, hurry up and come down. Neza also kept on crying. He understood what pure power was. This power was too strong. This was only the second petal. There were still 5 more petals left, and Long Fei's body would all be melted. Long Fei did not speak and crawled towards the third petal. He had to hold back. He had to endure it. He didn't know why the eternal coffin had brought him to another world, but he knew that there had to be a reason behind it. No matter where he was, he couldn't give up. He couldn't give up the thought of becoming strong. If he gave up, he would lose everything. Everything in the universal realm. He could not take revenge for the hatred of the dragon race, for the hatred of his father, and for the hatred of his mother, his brother, his woman. Everything he had would be lost because of his loss of will. He could not give up. Thus, no matter what happened to Long Fei, even if he had to endure more pain, he would persevere. Even if he couldn't endure it, he would grit his teeth and persevere forward. Wait for me. Lier, Lan Mei Queen, Yurong, and those women who are waiting for my return. Xiao Bai, Ice and Fire, King Kong, those brothers who are waiting for me. Wait for my return. Long Fei let out a roar, endured the pain, and dug out the third petal. His right palm was gone. It had been melted into a lump by the melting flames. He couldn't help but use his hands. Long Fei's eyes tensed up and once again crawled towards a higher place. The higher the level, the stronger the pure power. Long Fei's body also continued to melt. His body could no longer be called a body. It was about to become a lump. The brown beast scales melted bit by bit. Even a super godly body of Taudi would not be able to take it. Again, boom! A ball of flames emerged from Long Fei's body and once again rushed to an even higher point. No, no, big brother Long Fei. Don't climb anymore. You will die. Xian Yu cried out loud, crying her heart out. Xian Hu also began to shed tears. She really hated men. However, this man made her heart ache. However, she could not understand it all. What kind of person would act like this? Lei Gang's face was filled with reverence. At this moment, in his heart, Long Fei was like a god. Yi Wuqian laughed coldly as he watched Long Fei slowly turn into a pool of lava. Seeing the 7-flame flower in his hands, not getting affected at all, he couldn't help but feel excited in his heart. Let's just wait for death. The other elders of the divine sect also had sneers on their faces. In the beginning, they didn't dare to be too impudent, but they didn't have to worry about that anymore. He's going to become a dead man soon. Haha. Serves you right. Who does he think he is? You came to the divine sect to behave atrociously? Are you all right now? Ha! The divine sect or divine sect. Your grandpa will always be your grandpa. Ha! Many elders began to laugh out loud. Long Fei didn't have long to live. As his body melted, half of his leg was broken. However, Long Fei did not stop. The 5th one, Long Fei roared. No one knew how he was able to withstand it. In this situation, he simply couldn't. No one could withstand it. His body had reached its limit and melted into several parts. Currently, only half of Long Fei's body was moving, but even so, he did not give up. Xian Yu was already on the verge of tears. Xian Hu did not dare to continue watching. There were still 2 petals left, and the power of the lava tree had become even more powerful. Rumble! Rumble! His entire body was engulfed in flames. Buzz! Yi Wuqian laughed loudly. Ha ha! Ha ha! Kid, he's dead. Ha ha! Who do you think you are? You want to behave atrociously in my divine sect? It's cold now, right? Ha! I thought you were so strong, but it turns out you're only this strong. Yi Wuqian released it with all his might. The pent-up anger in his heart exploded. All the elders of the divine sect became excited. A mocking smile appeared on his face. Serves you right. Good. Let's see how arrogant he can be. I sent two beauties here for nothing. Just as they were laughing with glee and delight, a voice suddenly came from within the flames. Sixth. Rumble. The sixth flower was dug up. Long Fei stuck his head out from the flames, his entire body flowing with liquid. Looking at the top petal of the lava tree, he uttered a heavy cry. He threw himself forward. Everyone was scared silly by Long Fei. Still persisting like this? You can still live? At this time, everyone quietened down and looked at Long Fei with their eyes wide open. The muscles in the corner of Yi Wuqian's eyes twitched. Right now, Long Fei only had his head left. He had no idea how he could survive. Watching as Long Fei reached the top of the smelting flame tree, he let out a roar. Last piece. Hall of Eternal Life. Young Taoist immediately said, Master, senior brother has completed. Senior brother has completed. The middle-aged man said coldly, Not yet. He hasn't formed the seven flame flower yet. Young Taoist cried in anxiety. Master, senior brother will die. The middle-aged man didn't say a word as he thought to himself, This is the test of eternal life. He must endure it. He repeated in his heart, I have to endure it. No matter what kind of test it was, Long Fei would give it his all if he wanted to do one thing. No matter what kind of test it was, Long Fei would give it his all if he wanted to do one thing. If he didn't succeed, he would never retreat. Moreover, this matter was related to whether or not he could meet the Hall of Eternal Life, and whether or not he could meet the universal realm. His body had already melted. The pain in his body had gone numb. He couldn't feel it. He didn't dare look back. He didn't dare look down. I was afraid to look back and see my amputated leg somewhere. Hand or foot. He only knew how to look forward and could only try his best to hold it in, relying on faith. When he got the seventh seven-flame flower, he let out a roar, the seventh. In his heart, he exclaimed, Dimension door, open it for me. The mission that Home Master gave him was seven-flame flower. Once one obtains the seven-flame flower, they will open it, but now, the dimension door had not appeared, which meant that his mission was still ongoing and he had not truly completed it. However, Long Fei's body had already been melted into the flames. There was very little he could do right now. Just as he took down the seventh seven-flame flower, the lava tree lost its support and cooled down. Long Fei's body was also rapidly cooling. If it was completely cooled down, then he would forever be imprisoned inside the lava tree, turning into a rock. Yi Wuqian looked at the blurry Long Fei and the seven-flame flower in his embrace and tightened his eyebrows. He said solemnly, Dragon Pavilion Master, you have already obtained the seven-flame flower. He did not know how a person could survive after their body had been melted. He didn't care about how Long Fei survived either. He only thought about one thing. What was Long Fei going to do with the seven-flame flower? This was his goal. He had always wanted to know the mystical uses of the seven-flame flower that he brought out from the secret world, and now he was waiting for Long Fei to use it. But Long Fei did not use it. The lava tree was cooling, and Long Fei's body was cooling as well. If it were to all cool down, Long Fei's body would be completely frozen on the lava tree and would slowly crack and turn into ashes. When the lava tree gave birth to a seven-flame flower, it would be harvested and it would quickly cool down and wither before breaking apart. Long Fei said lightly, Sect Master Yi, you have always wanted to know the use of seven-flame flower, right? You get me out first, I'll tell you. Yi Wuqian's eyes turned sinister. Long Fei said, In this world, only I know the use of seven-flame flower. If I do not survive, this seven-flame flower will disappear along with me. You do not want this, right? He didn't have enough strength at the moment. Not enough. He was simply unable to struggle free from the lava tree. Amongst these people, only Yi Wuqian could help him. The dimension door had not appeared yet, and that was because they had not formed together yet. They cannot be considered to have truly completed the Hall Master's mission, so Long Fei had to live. He could only gamble everything on Yi Wutian. Yi Wutian's eyes darkened as he fell into deep thought. Long Fei feigned calmness and said, "Seven Flame Flower's fate is to defy the heavens and bring the dead back to life. As long as you have the body of any dead person or a sealed soul, you can revive." Long Fei's body was slowly becoming immobilized. At this moment, his heart trembled slightly as he cursed in his heart. "Your sister. Hurry up and pretend to think about it. I still don't know what you want with the Seven Flame Flower." Yi Wutian said indifferently, "Is it really as powerful as you say?" Long Fei said, "Haha, you won't know until you try." Yi Wutian said, "All right." The many elders were slightly startled and looked towards Yi Wutian. An elder said, "Sect leader, if you don't save him, he will die soon." "Why save him?" "That's right. He killed so many elders. This kid was so arrogant just now, and now he still wants to save him? It can't be saved, master. He must be lying to you. There is no such thing in this world that can change the fate of others and revive the dead. Sect heads should not be fooled by it. Sovereign, think twice." Long Fei was too arrogant. She couldn't wait for him to die. So what if it was a Seven Flame Flower? This was because they simply did not understand what a Seven Flame Flower was, and did not understand what Yi Wutian had experienced when he first encountered a Seven Flame Flower in the secret world. He had always known that Seven Flame Flower had great power. It was just that he did not know how to use this power, nor did he know how to gather the Seven Flame Flower. Yi Wutian said blandly, "His body has already become like this. Even if he was saved, he would at least be crippled. No matter how much he jumps, he won't be able to jump onto our palms." Long Fei laughed. "Sect Master Yi is right. I've already become a lump of rock. I'm not even a threat. What are you all afraid of?" Everyone looked at Long Fei's broken body. Even half of his body was extremely blurry. From the very beginning, Yi Wutian had thought of a way to deal with Long Fei, but now he was even more confident. Immediately, Yi Wutian took a step forward and entered the secret room. There was no blazing flame under his feet. Long Fei's heart trembled. As expected, the strangeness of this secret room was caused by him. Yi Wutian took a step forward, and the energy of the holy realm surged. The sword ignited and slashed out with heavy force. It cut through the middle of Long Fei's body. The scarlet red liquid flowed out. Long Fei felt that his health point was dropping rapidly, and cursed in his heart, "Fuck!" Boom! Long Fei fell to the ground and turned into a ball. Not to mention standing. He didn't even have a foot left, only the Seven Flame Flower in his embrace and his already melting head. Yi Wutian condescendingly stood in front of Long Fei, his eyes full of contempt, and said coldly, "Pavilion Master Long, you can say it now, right? Xian Hu and Xian Yu wanted to rush out. But, boom, boom, it was instantly blocked by two elders, and they were also restrained." Long Fei squinted and said indifferently, "Don't you two come over here." Long Fei raised his eyes, looked at Yi Wutian, and said, "Let them go first." Yi Wutian's eyes became angry, and he stomped his foot on Long Fei's head as he shouted angrily, "Do you still have the qualifications to negotiate with me?" He exerted force with his feet. "Speak. What is the power of the Seven Flame Flower? How should I use it?" Yi Wutian growled. He exerted even more force with his feet. Long Fei's eyes were tightly shut as his health points swiftly decreased. He was on the verge of collapsing. Yi Wutian also roared, "Tell me." Boom! The pressure of the holy realm smashed down heavily. Long Fei's body looked like it was about to explode. His health point was already about to collapse. If he did not level up soon, he would definitely not be able to live. At this moment, Long Fei said heavily, "Neza attack." Neza attack. Neza attack. Long Fei said. In the dark, Neza was already preparing. He suddenly rushed out. The spear in his hands moved and directly thrust towards Yi Wutian's throat. Yi Wutian was the Holy Realm, the only powerhouse in this world with a Holy Realm. The moment Neza's aura faintly moved, Yi Wutian also felt his aura fluctuate. His reaction was also a godlike one. His body suddenly shrunk, and a sharp light flashed in his eyes. His aura suddenly stirred and surged out. Rumble, rumble, rumble. With his body as the center, a couple of strong and fierce forces burst out, wanting to blast Neza flying out. But Neza's strength exceeded Yi Wutian's imagination. The godlike power that he released didn't hinder Neza at all. The red spear broke, directly pointing at Yi Wutian's throat. Thus, Neza's figure also appeared. Yi Wutian looked at the child in front of him, and his pupils contracted. He flipped his right palm and struck it forward, heavenly demon palm. Waves of black smoke surged out, wanting to force Neza to retreat. But Neza completely ignored him and angrily said, "Bullying my father? I'll take your life." His body jolted. Hong Ying's long spear thrust instantly. Bam! Crack! The tip of the spear pierced through his throat. Yi Wutian's pupils constricted all of a sudden, and his pupils became as sharp as needles. Power frantically surged out from his entire body as he used one hand to cover the long spear while he coughed out fresh blood from his mouth. But even so, Yi Wutian did not panic. For example, the divine realm was called the Holy Realm because they possessed the power and calmness of a god. Tyrant beast, open, roar. Yi Wutian released a roar from his throat. His body also underwent a drastic change. His entire body was covered in a thick beast armor, as though it was made of fine steel. He locked the spear. Yi Wutian's body turned into a ferocious beast. His body was at the peak of the profound realm. Two beast eyes stared at Neza. Yi Wutian heavily shouted, "Lie down." The beast moved its power. A huge beast paw struck at Neza. Yi Wutian's sudden change caused Neza to tremble slightly, but he wiped the bridge of his nose and grinned. "You still dare to jump? Break the red tassel." The long spear left his hand. The handle of the spear suddenly changed. Bam! The tip of the spear that was stabbed into Yi Wutian's body suddenly exploded, like a hedgehog. The steel needle was pierced from inside to outside. Yi Wutian's body suddenly sank. The steel needles at his throat pierced forward, causing blood to spurt out, the immense power also quickly dissipating. The voices in his throat began to tremble. "Master! Master! Master! Ah!" Two elders at the peak of the Xian King's rank rushed forward. The two of them had their bags on their left and right as they attacked Neza. Neza didn't even look at him. He just said indifferently, "Scram." Boom! A bright light shot out from his body. The two Mystic King Peak stage elders were sent flying and smashed into the wall, bleeding from their 7 orifices. Neza looked at Yi Wutian, who had been stabbed like a hedgehog. He laughed lightly and said, "Becoming a wild beast makes you strong? Forget about you being a holy realm. Even if you're a true god, you better die for me." Neza moved. He grabbed the long spear and raised Yi Wutian up into the air. Blood gushed out from Yi Wutian's throat, and he continuously spat out black blood. He looked at Neza and said, "If I die, he dies as well." Neza was very unhappy and said, "Threatening me? Then you will die even faster." Yi Wutian said heavily, "If you don't believe me, then you can try. If you want to try, let's try. I'm still afraid of you." Neza was the same as Long Fei. He hated being threatened. With him here, he didn't believe that anyone in this world could hurt his father. Neza didn't believe it. Neza channeled his power and smashed Yi Wutian to the ground like a hammer. Yi Wutian's hands formed seals as he muttered an incantation. Right at this moment, the light in the secret room dimmed and they fiercely gathered together. A black ancient Buddha slowly rose up. Neza's eyebrows tightened. Yi Wutian laughed and said, "If I die, he will also die. Kill me, kill me." Long Fei said, "Neza, kill him." The phantom image on the ancient Buddha's body exploded. Buzz! An ancient Buddha appeared out of nowhere and stared furiously at Long Fei, who was on the ground. The power in his body was linked to the strength in Yi Wutian's body. If Yi Wutian died, the ancient Buddha's power would instantly crush Long Fei. Xianhu suddenly shouted, "Super treasure, 10,000-year-old Buddha!" No, no! Xianhu said in a trembling voice. The ancient Buddha and Yi Wutian have already fused. Once Yi Wutian dies, the ancient Buddha's power will explode towards Long Fei. He can't die. He can't die. He was extremely worried. Neza also felt the strangeness of the power of the ancient Buddha. Right now, he only needed a moment to kill Yi Wutian, but all of the power from Yi Wutian's body poured into the ancient Buddha. And if the ancient Buddha's power struck Long Fei, he might not be able to keep it safe. Father, Neza's eyebrows tightened. Yi Wutian laughed blandly. Do something to kill me. Do it, do it, do it. If you kill me, your father will die too. Kill me. He was extremely pleased with himself. He looked like he was certain of Neza's safety. Just when Neza was hesitating, Yi Wutian said heavily, Elder of the Divine Sect, listen up. Surround him. The elders immediately surrounded Long Fei. Yi Wutian said in a bland voice, Put me down, or else. I will let him die. Put me down. He shouted angrily. Cold sweat broke out on Neza's forehead for the first time, and his hands were also covered in sweat. He didn't know what to do at this moment. His heart was in turmoil. However, Long Fei's heart was very calm, and he said, Son, trust me. Kill them all. Kill. Long Fei let out a heavy roar. Yi Wutian glared. You dog, you dare? Ah! Neza roared and heavily smashed down, die. Yi Wutian's pupils shrank, and similarly let out a furious roar. You too. Boom! The ancient Buddha statue moved. A huge divine Buddha appeared, all of its power resonating with Long Fei. Long Fei secretly laughed and said, If I kill you, I will level up and you'll kill me. Killing an upgrading system. After leveling up for killing, it will be able to recover its original state. This was the system. This was the benefit of upgrading. Long Fei did not need to worry, because all of this had been calculated by Long Fei to the point that it was dead. Kill your father? You are still far from it. As soon as you die, I'll level up immediately. Long Fei was excited. The system sounded out. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Yi Wutian. Do you want to absorb it? But a scene that Long Fei did not expect happened. It was a scene that he did not calculate. According to his calculations, Yi Wutian should have been killed by Neza. He obtained Yi Wutian's rank, which is to level up and recover his condition. According to his calculations, Yi Wutian should have been killed by Neza. He obtained Yi Wutian's rank, which is to level up and recover his condition. His melted hands and feet could be recovered. It was perfect. It could also be considered as grabbing onto the part of the system that was known as the BUG. But Long Fei had underestimated the might of the super treasure that had existed for 10,000 years, the ancient Buddha. Yi Wutian was dead. Long Fei moved his idea, capture. In an instant, Long Fei's leveling up, stepping into the holy realm, caused all sorts of attributes to instantly recover. However, the recovery of his physical body was not as fast as the recovery of his attributes. Little by little, it felt like it was being remolded. Slow doesn't matter. It was fine if they could recover, but even these profound king stage elders could not harm them. The power of the 10,000-year-old Buddha did not disappear. Yi Wutian was dead, and the energy from the ancient Buddha continued to crush down crazily, shaking all the elders away. At this moment, Long Fei's hands and feet had not finished reforming yet, so he had no way of dodging. Zhang Xian's heart tightened. Damn! Neza also shouted, Daddy! Long Fei! Fly! Young master! At this moment, Xianhu in profound jade also struggled out of his grasp and rushed towards Long Fei. Long Fei's body was fully recovered. He returned to his original appearance. However, in the blink of an eye, the power of the ancient Buddha was unleashed. Long Fei rolled his eyes and muttered, Fuck! Rumble! 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 It completely suppressed them, and the power of the 10,000-year ancient Buddha burst out to the maximum, pressing heavily onto Long Fei's body. His mind, his sea of consciousness, even the body of Tauti began to tremble. the instant that Long Fei recovered. In between recovery and serious injury. Rumble. Long Fei's body fiercely smashed into the ground. The ancient Buddha exploded. Long Fei's body became the same lump of red as before, and then completely melted. Not dead. However, he did not have his own body. The secret room quietened down, and everyone stared at Long Fei, who flowed on the ground. Flames spouted out of the elder's eyes, and he shouted loudly, "Revenge the sect master! Revenge!" Reporting, many elders rushed forward. Rather than say it was revenge, it would be better to call it taking revenge on the 7 flame flower that was flowing on Long Fei's body. In that instant, Long Fei quickly assembled the 7 flame flower together. Right now, the 7 flame flower on his body had assembled 7 petals to form a flower. Divine light shrouded the area. It was like a miracle. When the elders of the divine sect saw this, their hearts faintly trembled. They clearly knew in their hearts that this was a super treasure, the supreme super treasure. It was possible that he really did possess the strength to overturn the heavens. One by one, they charged forward. However, Neza was enraged. Scram! He roared. All the divine sect elders were shaken to pieces by Neza's words. Blood sprayed wildly. The entire room became like a purgatory. Neza's body faintly trembled. He looked at Long Fei and said, "Daddy, Daddy." Tears streamed down his face as he cried loudly. He was so panicked that he didn't know what to do anymore. He couldn't think of any way at the moment. Xianhu and Xianyu looked at the surrounding bloody scene and felt their stomachs churn. They simply could not hold back and vomited, their faces pale white. In that split second, just now, a surge of power had deliberately avoided the 3 of them. Otherwise, they would have been like these divine sect elders. He quickly ran in front of Long Fei. Looking at Long Fei turn into a ball of liquid, there was nothing he could do. In Long Fei's mind, the system kept beeping. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing sect elders. Do you wish to absorb them? Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing sect elders. Do you wish to absorb them? Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing sect elders. Do you wish to absorb them? The system beeped out these notifications. But the highest level among these elders was only the peak realm of the profound king, which simply did not surpass Yi Wutian's level. It was simply impossible to level up. If he couldn't level up, his body wouldn't be able to recover. There was no way at all. At this time, Long Fei was starting to miss the universal realm system. Neza must have had a lot of experience after killing so many people. Perhaps these experience points could help him level up. Seeing that Neza was crying so much, Long Fei felt that he was extremely tired, and his body could barely hold on. Neza had just released such a strong power, and had already used up all of his energy. Long Fei said, "Don't worry, I'm not dead yet, am I?" It turned into liquid. His body was also rapidly cooling down. As soon as it cooled down, his health point dropped a little. Long Fei thought, "Damn you, will I really die here?" Neza pleaded, "Daddy, there must be a way. Speak. Tell me quickly." Xinyu also said, "Big brother Long Fei, tell me, what can I do to save you?" Xianhu also cried madly as he looked at Long Fei. Long Fei laughed. "I'm fine, don't worry. Even if I die, don't cry. I still have many things that I haven't completed in my life, but it's worth it. Much more than my own world. If it was on Earth, then he would only be a poor loser for the rest of his life. There was no hope in this life. However, in this alternate world, he had women, brothers, relatives, friends, had been at the pinnacle, had gone mad, and his life had been incomparably exciting. He was worth it. It was really worth it. He was just a little unwilling. He could not go back to the universal realm. He could not kill the Emperor Xian. But there was nothing he could do now. In this world, there was no one stronger than Yi Wutian. Even if there was, he did not know which corner they were at. He did not believe in fate. But this might be fate. Neza was about to go berserk. He clenched his fists and tried his best to hold back his tears, but she couldn't hold it in any longer, and her bean-sized tears continued to flow down her face. Don't cry. Keep going. You will become the strongest person in the universe. Long Fei looked at Neza. He really liked this strange son of his. Very strong, very fierce, almost omnipotent. Moreover, the most important thing was Neza's happiness for Long Fei. If he could, he really wanted to go back to the universal realm and have kids with those girls. In the past, he didn't want kids, but after he had Neza, he did. Neza stubbornly shook his head and said, Daddy is the #1 person in the universe. Long Fei laughed and said, Goodbye. His entire body cooled down. At this moment, squeak, a door suddenly appeared out of nowhere. A door appeared out of thin air. A door appeared out of thin air. There was a sharp sound of the door opening. Neza was slightly surprised. At this moment, a middle-aged man walked out from the door. The man, dressed in plain clothes, had a cold expression. His eyes glanced at the cold Long Fei on the ground and formed a hand seal. A ball of flame ignited between his fingers. The flames must. It landed. It landed on top of Long Fei's head. The flames did not move. The middle-aged man took another step down, looked at the 7-flame flower on Long Fei's body, and coldly said, You barely completed the mission. He raised the center of his brows, and a strand of power carried Long Fei up from his body. Buzz! He stopped in front of the dimension door and looked at Neza. At this moment, Lei Gang said with a heavy voice, Who are you? Where do you want to take the young master? The aura around his body exploded, and a dense supreme force burst out. Neza stopped Lei Gang and said, Don't move recklessly. The middle-aged man did not say anything. His eyes were filled with indifference, as if he had not heard what Lei Gang had said at all. Lei Gang leaped in place, flying straight up, and shouted, Don't even think about leaving this place if you don't clarify. Neza shouted, Don't go. Too slow. Lei Gang blocked the door, and before he could finish speaking, the middle-aged man kicked him in. Xianyu called out, Uncle Lei Gang. She rushed forward. Bam! He gently kicked it in. Xianyu clenched both her fists tightly. As she watched Lei Gang and Xianyu disappear, she also didn't care too much and charged forward. Bam! With another kick, he disappeared. Neza's body was shaking. No matter how he tried to persuade her, it was useless. From the moment the middle-aged man appeared, he knew that this man was extremely dangerous. The aura on his body was stronger than anything he had ever experienced before. Neza didn't dare to move, and the other two were kicked into the air. The middle-aged man looked at Neza and said indifferently, Do you want to go in? Neza's eyes darkened. What do you want to do to my father? The middle-aged man didn't answer and instead repeated, Do you want to go in? Huh. Neza let out a roar, moved his red, tasseled long spear, conjuring tens of thousands of spears, enveloping the middle-aged man. But even then, when the tens of thousands of spear shadows pierced through the middle-aged man's body, he didn't seem like he was affected in the slightest. No damage at all. Is Neza strong? The powerhouse of the Holy Realm said that he would kill them in an instant. Moreover, his strength was limitless. But facing this middle-aged man made him feel powerless, as if he weren't facing him alone, but instead an endless ocean. He didn't know where to start. He released his strongest power, but it was useless. This feeling of powerlessness made him feel extremely uncomfortable. However, Neza didn't give up. He was still using all sorts of powerful moves, all sorts of powerful forces. However, all sorts of attacks were useless against the middle-aged man. Not a single injury was inflicted. After a long time, Neza gasped from exhaustion. The middle-aged man said coldly, Can we go in now? That look, that tone, it was as if Neza was just a little kid making trouble. Although Neza was just a little kid, he was really unhappy. Neza didn't say anything. The middle-aged man lifted his right foot. Bang! Yi Zichen kicked Neza in. The middle-aged man looked at Long Fei, who was floating in mid-air, and pushed him into the dimension door with his hand. He did not go in immediately. Instead, he clasped his hands together, and streams of power burst forth from his body. Next, The world slowly returned to normal. The divine sect was also the divine sect. Yi Wu Tian was still Yi Wu Tian. The elders in the divine sect were still those elders. The Xian Pavilion S were still Xian Pavilion S, and the 9 Grand Court S were still the 9 Grand Court S. Not one by one. It was a reversal of time, back to a few years ago, before Yi Wu Tian entered the special secret world. After doing all this, the middle-aged man stepped into the dimension door. In this world, 3 people were missing. The profound Jade, Xian Hu, and Lei Gang. Everything was still the same as before. Your body is too weak. Your body technique is too weak. Enter this plane. Without even giving Lei Gang time to react, he was immediately pushed into the shadows by the middle-aged man. Then a white light flashed. Lei Gang disappeared. Your talent is too bad, your cultivation is too bad, and your looks aren't enough to bring down a country. Enter this plane. Boom! The Black Jade was also sent to another plane. Xian Hu's body slightly shrank as he said, "I'm not going anywhere." The middle-aged man didn't say anything and just pushed her into another space. Finally, Neza. The middle-aged man looked at Neza and said, "No one is allowed to interfere with his training. You can't help him in. Your own strength is also not strong enough." Neza stood up and said, "Can I ask you a question?" The middle-aged man withdrew his strength and said, "Ask." He was still very polite to Neza. Of course, it wasn't because Neza was strong enough. Beside him, Neza was like an ant. "Will my father die?" Neza asked. The middle-aged man said, "No way." The answer was very straightforward. Neza knelt down, kowtowed, and said heavily, "Thank you. I can go anywhere." The middle-aged man's expression was still cold. He pushed Neza into the darkness without any change due to Neza's kneeling. Buzz! A white light flashed, and Neza also disappeared. Only the middle-aged man and the young Taoist behind him remained in the hall. Young Taoist looked at Long Fei, looked at the lamp, and asked, "Master, will senior brother really not die?" The middle-aged man frowned and did not answer. "Protect your senior brother. Within 7 days, if I do not return, then use the 7-flame flower to replenish his life. Remember, a single petal can only sustain a lifespan of 14 hours. I can't miss a single petal. In addition, when I'm not around, you can't leave him even a single step. Don't worry, Master. I'll remember that." Young Taoist nodded and said, "Master, where are you going?" The middle-aged man didn't say anything as he walked into the darkness. Creak! A door opened, and instead of a white light, a dazzling black light surged out, wanting to flood into the great hall. The middle-aged man's body moved, completely crushing the black light. Finally, he jumped down. The door slammed shut. Young Taoist said anxiously, "Master!" The place the middle-aged man and Lei Gang and the others entered was completely different. If he wanted to save Long Fei, he had to enter the realm of the gods once. Young Taoist was very clear on what the hidden realm signified. He muttered, "Master, you must be careful." Long Fei's consciousness was blurry. Long Fei's consciousness was blurry. In this blur, he had no idea what was going on outside. He could not feel any existence at all. He only felt that there was a light in the darkness. The flame was very small, and as time passed, the flame also became smaller. However, this process was very light. System. Long Fei felt as if he was in chaos. He wanted to summon the system, but the system seemed to have disappeared from his body. He couldn't sense it at all. The system interface did not pop up at all. What's going on? Has the system stopped operating? Holy shit. What the hell are they doing? System, who the hell designed this damn thing? Long Fei cursed, but the system was still in a world that he could not sense. Rather than saying that he could not sense it, it would be better to say that the system was temporarily shut down, because Long Fei was at Hall of Eternal Life. There was a strange power here. The system closed off the moment Long Fei entered, leaving him completely out of control. Even in a certain world, the supervisor was secretly surprised for a moment. "It's dark. How could this be? Is he dead?" Impossible. It was clearly detected that there was a life throbbing. Why did it suddenly go black? The supervisor's forehead was locked, and he was constantly adjusting his position. He also wanted to activate the system, but it was the same. The screen in front of him was still black. The man behind him also frowned and said, "I would like to report this immediately. Keep an eye out." The supervisor nodded and said, "All right." He was very anxious. He thought to himself, "Brat, you can't fall at this place. You still have many tasks that you haven't completed. Do you know?" He was unceasingly adjusting it. He wanted to give the killing system more authority, but not all. Not all. The system inside Long Fei's soul was in a completely tight state and stopped operating. What should we do? I was worried to death. I said I couldn't use a system that hadn't been tested yet. Is there a problem now? The man's eyes were filled with worry. Half a moment later, when the man entered the room, his eyebrows tightened even more. He said, "The result is that if he can't wake up within 7 days, he will be deemed a failure. The system program will self-destruct and devour his soul. This is also the unique killing technique of killing and upgrading system." The supervisor was stunned and said, "How can this be? How can a failure be determined without knowing the reason? 7 days is too short." The man said, "I was the one who bought it 7 days ago. The higher-ups seem to be very unsatisfied with this killing and upgrading system, very unsatisfied with Long Fei, this host. With such a powerful system, they haven't done anything powerful yet. The results are disappointing. They intend to give up on the research and development of this system." Abandoning the system's update and research and development meant that the system wouldn't be perfect, which meant that the host of the system was in great potential danger. The killing system that the man mentioned just now had a self-destruct process. Once touched, even the deities wouldn't be able to save him. The supervisor was even more anxious. He looked at the black screen and said, "Long Fei, you can't fall down. You definitely can't. If you fall down, your legend won't be able to continue. Wake up quickly. Hurry up." The man patted the supervisor's shoulder and said, "I know you have feelings for a host, but they're just mice made by Shao Bai, nothing more. In the end, he will still die. From the moment they were chosen, it was their fate. It's only a matter of time. In the sovereign realm, all the lower-plane creatures are experimental subjects. We are all high-level beings. Don't get angry over these Shao Bai rats. Now, it's unknown whether he's alive or dead. It's also good that he's dead. Our work can also end now. Don't blame yourself too much. We'll have a good rest for the next few days." The man left the room with a few words of consolation. The supervisor clenched his fists tightly as he stared at the black screen and muttered, "I will definitely save you. I definitely won't let you die so easily. I swear." In his heart, he worshipped Long Fei. He hoped that he would one day become Long Fei as well. He was as willing to take revenge as he was. Brothers like him, and women that could topple empires. But he couldn't. But he did not want Long Fei to stop. If you can defy the heavens and change your fate, then so can I. The supervisor looked at the black screen and muttered, "I'm still waiting for the day to meet with you. I want to shock everyone. I'm going to make your name resound throughout the Paragon world." And then the supervisor picked up a black box and quickly left the room. Hall of Eternal Life. 7 days passed. The Hall Master had not returned. The flame above Long Fei's head became extremely weak and could be extinguished at any time. Young Taoist looked at the flames and used both hands to protect himself as he muttered, "Hold on a little longer. Hold on a little longer. Senior brother, you can't die. Master went to the Twilight Zone for you. You can't fall down at this time." Buzz! The flames were extinguished, leaving behind only a small spark. Young Taoist quickly plucked a piece of the 7-flame flower S petal and placed it in the lamp, causing the flames to burn again. It was also at this time. A strange sound came from the darkness. Bam! Young Taoist's eyes moved like an eagle's eye. The aura on his body also fluctuated, his two black eyes locking onto one another. Huff, huff! Walala! The sound of heavy breathing came slowly from the darkness. super monster who was over 3 meters tall, with pitch-black muscles as though they were made of stone, walked out. With every step he took, a ball of black-colored flame rose from beneath his feet, causing the ground to ignite with black-colored flames. The young Taoist didn't fear him and protected Long Fei behind him. He said lightly, "You better leave now, otherwise you will die." A simple sentence. It did not look intimidating at all. Super Monster also did not leave, a look of contempt appearing in his completely black eyes. How dare a mere 7 or 8-year-old child act so impudently in front of him? It was almost the same as courting death. Super Monster moved, the black flames diffused, and a powerful force pounced towards young Taoist crazily. Young Taoist snorted, "You're courting death." His 2 fingers moved. A red ray of light shot out from his fingertip. Bam! Super Monster's body was instantly sliced apart. His body exploded and dropped right in front of young Taoist. Young Taoist didn't even blink. This sort of thing happened very often. It was extremely normal. Clap, clap. Clap, clap. A black-robed man walked out and said with a smile, "The Hall of Eternal Life's immortal path is indeed different. It's really amazing." The center of young Taoist's brows tightened, and he gently took a step back, completely protecting Long Fei. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.